Recording. Okay, I don't know why it didn't give me the signal, but we are recording.
I got the notice. Yeah.
Did you get it?
Mhm.
Okay,
That was good.
sorry. Okay, there are more people in the waiting room. I'm hitting admit all.
It's just gonna take time.
Tick, tick, tick. Okay.
Yeah, we're up to 5, so that's
This
why it's
meeting
gonna
is
take
being
time.
recorded. Okay, got it. Awesome. Okay, more people in the waiting room. Admit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our April board meeting, and we're very excited that we have lots of people here. And thank you very much for bearing with us for these 11 minutes as we prepared for all of the different hybrid options, so we can get a chance to hear from you in person and hear from those online. So thank you for that. So at this time, we are recording, so that is good. We've got all that set. So yes. Did everybody who is here in person get a chance to sign in? Since we have a big group in person tonight, we just wanted to capture who is here. So thank you for that. And then, so at this point, I will call the meeting to order at 6:42. And so now, let me make sure this last person comes in the meeting. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go over the agenda for the night. So let's see. We've already recorded the time. So we are off and running, and we will have, just to run down the agenda for the evening, we will have public input and comments. And as we get there, I will explain the process for that so that we can have people online comment. We can have reading of information that was sent to me beforehand right here. If it was sent before 6 p.m., I have it right here. And then anyone from this group who would like to speak. So we have a computer that is set up so that if you want to kind of come up and be a little bit closer, it may be easier to hear you for the benefit of the recording and for everyone online. So that would be awesome if you are able to do that. So there is no signing up for who's going to speak. We will just go through all that in a little bit. So more to come. So that, and then we have a number of things to review and approve kind of upfront. So we do need to approve last minutes from the March 22nd meeting. We have some votes initially placed there, a number of different ones around the paid time off policy, instructional materials policy, working with the municipal advisor / financial advisor. So lots of details were sent out to all of us to review, as well as the board annual meeting and SAC schedule. So all of those things are currently up for vote and they are listed there. And then once we get through all of that, we will then move on to our principals report. Here's some information there. We will have a discussion tonight about the middle school lottery and all of the associated comments that are taking place around that hot topic. We will cover any other operational updates that we need from that time. We will move on to any finance updates that we have. Sarah for PTO, anything else we want to talk about committee wise, and Stacy will probably wrap us up. And I'm going to ask you all to stick with us tonight. So thanks. That's a lot of stuff. All right. So did I miss anything? And is there any adjustments that we need to make to the agenda at this time? Thank you for admitting them. Okay. No changes? Sound okay? All right. So before we begin public comment, is there anything that you would like to say to
review the meeting agenda from last month, the March?
You want to go ahead and do the minutes from?
Yeah, let's do that first.
All right.
Is there any comments or updates to that meeting agenda as written?
Meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes. Thank you.
I didn't know what financial section.
The TSI teacher salary increase adjustment. It's related to, it's the phrase that the state has related to the give an increase, it was specifically to their teachers. I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they did that. And then they left it as a little side item instead of rolling into our main funding.
Move to approve the minutes as attached.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting minutes as written are approved. So I also just want to take a minute and just welcome everybody, because obviously we have a big group with us online and a big group in the room. And I think that it just bodes well to see that amount of participation and support. So we're going to open the floor in a few minutes, and Kristen will definitely go over the public comment portion. But as I was thinking, obviously what we have on the agenda, it got me to think of a current situation that's also taking place on our school or at our school, and that is our boardwalk. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the boardwalk concept or with the plans for the boardwalk or not, but this has been, I think, a dream for Patrice over the last couple of years. And we have finally gotten to a spot where, like, this is going to happen. We're going to get a boardwalk, right? Like, this is exciting. We're going to have a place on our property where students can go and engage in the environment and learn and create. And we're thrilled, right? Like, it's a big deal. We're super excited about it. The problem was with our current construction, we had added costs come in. It was not originally in place because it required extra work from the city to cut the road and then thin the road, fix the road so that people can drive over the road and it's well to go. So then that changes our funding source for the boardwalk. And I think that that's important for us to see or to think about, because we had that contingency cost in there for the boardwalk and for a couple other things. But is the boardwalk going to go away? Are we going to get rid of the boardwalk? No, we've already got the plans drawn up. We've got a company picked, right? We're going to figure out a way to get that boardwalk out there. And then we're going to have Patrice come back and sign the boardwalk in, like, another year. But unfortunately, it does require some additional time before that boardwalk is in place. But the dream is not going anywhere. The idea is not outside of us. We're just gonna have to, do a little problem solving, spend some time on it, and figure out a way to get the boardwalk. And that just really resonated with me on what we're kind of dealing with this consolidation, right? We know it's what's best for our school. We've talked about that in relation to our students. But it's going to take some time for us to figure out how to make this the best. And you being here tonight and you guys being here tonight is showing that there is a passion and there's a way, and we're going to make it happen, right? We're going to figure out a plan. So I just appreciate the time, because it's going to take some time. That's why we have a year and a half, right? And the vote last, you looked at the minutes, it was to start the process. Right? To start the process to maybe look at those enrollment numbers and staffing requirements that are necessary. So I just thought that was just a good connection, and it tells us that, like tonight's comments, we're hoping that they'll come in with, I'm hoping there's going to be some ideas, some positive new ways of like looking at things for brainstorming, maybe even on the boardwalk. Feel free to add that in. Like, we're going to get that done. But I just really appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate your families, and I appreciate this community. So just wanted to take a minute before we open it up to public comment to say that. So go boardwalk.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate that, setting the stage. All righty. So as we move into public comment, there will be 3 different modes for public comment. So we are like fully hybrid tonight, really doing this thing. So like I mentioned before, I do have comments to read. I have about 4 or 5 of those. Okay, I've got those handy here. People in the room, we will do a very straightforward raise of hands. So that will be fairly straightforward. I have Miss Eileen, Miss Nicole. Hi, how are you? You're there because you are our key timekeepers. Okay, so that's going to be great. And then we have people online as well. So knowing that, what we'll do is we will start with people in the room, and then we're going to move to people online. And last but not least, I will not forget to read these comments that are right here. So that is our plan. The protocol for participation is 3 minutes. So you get 3 minutes, and what I've discussed with these ladies is they're going to give a nice, gentle, warm warning when you have 30 seconds left, because we don't want to cut anyone off in the moment of speaking, but we do want to let you know when you need to start to wrap up. So for those online, I will type in the chat or make some sort of a signal to you when you signal to me. So I think that is everything else I needed to say associated with that. And we will start with our folks in the room. So please just raise your hand. Okay.
Flipped your recording here.
Oh, thank you.
All right, can everyone hear me? Yes. Good evening. I'm Kate George, mom to 3 amazing IMO students, Gregory, Sam, and Isabel. Like all of us here, I'm extremely proud to be a member of this school community. As Patrice always says, Innovation Montessori is a treasure, and I couldn't agree more. The passion and dedication that courses throughout our school community is, I believe, at the heart of the tension that has been building since the announcement of the decision to merge our middle and high schools. It's rare to have a group of parents, teachers, administrators, staff, and volunteers as devoted and involved as the one with which we are graced here at IMO and IMHS. As a former middle and high school teacher, I understand the desire to bring these groups together. But as a business analyst and a concerned parent, I have some serious unease with the proposed plan to implement this change as it has been communicated to us. In the words of the great Oscar Wilde, if a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. I appreciate the need to make changes going forward that allow us to utilize our resources in the most effective and efficient way possible. But I implore you to take the time necessary to execute these changes well, while taking great care to mitigate the negative impacts on our Innovation Montessori family. When the news first broke of this decision, I quickly became inundated with messages from other concerned parents. At first, these correspondences fueled my worry and frustration, but then I took a step back and realized that each and every message represents an involved, caring, engaged parent, ready and willing to do whatever it takes to ensure that their students can continue to call this wonderful school family home. What an incredible gift to be part of a community that is so full of love for this place and its people. I humbly ask you to allow us to partner with you, to take the time to analyze this plan and work through all possible solutions together to find the best way to implement your decision. This community is chock full of smart, creative problem solvers, eager to collaborate with the board and the administration to find the best way to join these 2 age groups with the least negative impact to our students and our teachers. We respectfully request the following: the formation of a committee independent from the board of directors to work side by side with the board to implement this decision. Flexibility with the proposed 2024-2025 school year implementation deadline if it is determined that more time is needed to effectively execute that plan, and access to the public records from the working group sessions during which these decisions were discussed per Chapter 286, Section 11 of the Florida Sunshine Law. We all want the same thing for our students. For our students to grow and thrive as lifelong learners, and for Innovation Montessori to flourish so we can continue educating the future of our society through the framework established by Maria Montessori. Give us a spot at the table, and I assure you we'll give you our all. Thank you.
Next. That's right there. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Me start? Okay, this is going to be extempore, not beautifully organized like our previous speaker, because I have a shorter amount to say. Because my son started here only last year as a first year in high school. He has not come up through the ranks. So concerns that a lot of parents have about being able to continue through to high school are not ones that we have to deal with. He's a sophomore now. He is going to graduate out very soon. So in some ways, we don't have that much of a horse in this race. But Elliot has been looking for a long time for a place where he feels that the educators are as engaged and as dedicated to the learning as he wants to be. He wants to feel like he is in a community that everybody is contributing to, and he's had many a disappointment in educators and mostly school system, not so much individual people, but coming here was a huge change for him. It was a real revolution. He feels like it's a true community that everybody is involved in, everybody has stakes in. He feels like you want to hear from the students. You're telling them you need to drive the bus, you need to be in charge, you need to make decisions about your education, about how this community is going to be formed. And they are excited and they are engaged because they feel like they are getting the opportunity to help build this high school alongside all of you and all of the kids who are coming up into it. They want it to be great for them. And they feel that, unlike the philosophy that is stated to them that they believe in, this has not been done in a communal fashion. It has not been done in a conversational fashion, and it has not been done in a, at least that they can see, carefully thought out fashion, the way we would ask them to think out what they are doing in class and discuss what they are doing with their plans. I don't want him to suffer another disappointment. He feels as though they went in full on this high school and now it's not going to be a full-on high school. It feels like they were sold a bit of a bill of goods. And so, you know, please think about them, think about what you ask of them, and then try to ask the same thing of yourselves, because they believe in you and they trust you. So make sure you earn that trust. Thank you.
Mindful of my time. This letter is to represent quite a large majority of students at IMHS. Honored board members, we ask that you reconsider the vote to merge middle school with high school. In your executive summary of the charter school, it states that we were to have a game-changing high school for 800 students. Many parents made life-changing decisions to bring us here specifically for the high school component. We understand things didn't go as planned. Nevertheless, we love our school, and we understood the first few years would look very different from being like a traditional high school, and that we miss out on certain things because we will be the pioneers. At school, we're encouraged to be involved in the planning, implementing, and assessing of our learning environment. Yet, we're shut out of the room when it matters. Not all business decisions have to go through us, but we are your customers after all. And we're here to say we want a real high school experience. Sure, Montessori is about grouping adolescents together, but that's why the high school age group is already built that way. There's also a large social and emotional gap between the middle school years and us. Neither do we want to reduce the amount of high school students. We need additional high school peers to enhance our social, emotional learning experience. Like-minded peers we can engage with who understands our personal and collective goals for graduation, for college life, for workforce readiness, and the need for navigating interpersonal relationships within a safe space. This is the time we are leaving the middle years and beginning the growing up phase. Maria Montessori never intended middle schoolers to work within a high school framework. Teachers must work harder with this age group to get them to sit still, focus, and be productive. While our high school teachers know we're learning to wind down and form deeper connections to prepare for the physical world in front of us. Putting middle schoolers in the high school environment too soon can increase their social anxiety and peer pressure, while high schoolers feel repressed from fully experiencing the high school environment. In a way, doesn't this ruin the very high school legacy we set out to build? Montessori has three components: the learning environment, our teachers, and us. Not taking these three components into consideration is the very definition of an anti-Montessori school. This disrupts our peace, and the loss of the student and teacher's sense of belonging, respect, and inclusion brings disharmony. So please, rethink the impact of your decision, since it brings into question the integrity of our school's philosophy. And we hope that you'll take some time to reflect on your own high school experiences and realize how important it was to have your own space to support your journey into adulthood.
So next, because I'm also high school.
Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Walker. My son is in 10th grade. We've been part of the IMO community for 6 years, with them starting in 5th grade at the Plant Street location. Over the years, I've virtually attended previous board meetings and have spoken up when I felt necessary. I'm passionate and I care very much about my community. Currently, after the surprising vote at the last board of directors meeting, I'm watching my community crumble. The secret of planning to change the high school charter has hurt the heart of our community, which is our students. The disappointment and emotion is radiating through our school. I'm here tonight for 2 reasons. First, to show support for the young students who now face an uncertain future with the lottery, and second, to advocate for high school students, teachers, and staff to ensure the development of a high school experience that is worth yet another disturbance to their structure. I would like to start by saying that it is a very hard decision to choose to continue our Montessori experience and decide on IMHS for my son. He wanted a variety in classes, academic challenge, more opportunities, and dual enrollment. In the end, he chose this community, the one that was here exactly when we needed it, the one that provided a whole child education. We chose our IMO family, our IMO campus, a beautiful environment, and plenty of outdoor opportunities. We were pleased with the choice, and my son loved his teachers and the community of the campus. His freshman year of high school, he received portables, another false promise, and then a refurbished building designated as his high school. During the last board meeting, when I first heard about the new plans, I just couldn't believe it. While listening to the deep discussion take place and seeing how fast everything was moving, I was shocked that this was happening. I was confused that this current idea was deeply in the works without allowing the school community to be aware of the possibility of another change in the high school plans for a second time, and now a third time. I'm also here for my son. I asked him to write a letter to voice his opinion, and the response I received is heartbreaking. He asked, "What's the point? Look at all the promises they have made and never followed through." In 5th grade, middle school was taken away, and 6th grade stayed in Ocoee. A promised vision of a beautiful high school with a growth plan to 800 students turned into a freshman year in portables. Next came a refurbished school in a separate location and no sports fields. Our students were finally settling into this new location and looking forward to the vision of future possibilities. It was going to be exciting to grow our numbers, and in time design the building to become a game-changing high school through student initiations. These high school adolescents yet again are losing something from us. And worse, they are losing hope and confidence in the leadership team created to oversee the future of our schools. Although I understand the Montessori vision of adolescent years, the current building is not set up to house 7 through 12, while also providing the secondary 2 students a game-changing experience and growth of high school aged students. I ask that you please keep the high school as promised in the original 2017 high school charter application. I am disappointed to say that in much of this letter, I have used the exact same words in the letter I sent the board on October 25th, 2021. Please consider slowing down and including your high school student stakeholders during this process. It's never too late to include your community in this huge decision that has been divisive and hurtful. Sorry.
My name is Diana Urbanski, and I'm the parent of 2 IMO students. We started with the school on Plant Street in 2016. Larry is a current 8th grader, and due to a bonus year, Frankie is a current 5th grader, who will be the first class to go through the 7th grade lottery next year. Now, when I first received the email, I went back. I combed through board documents and minutes, and I watched videos. And I figured I missed something. If anyone knows me, that's not difficult. But as I began to speak with other people in the community, I realized I didn't miss anything. We were all blindsided. Now, this quote keeps resonating with me. It shouldn't have to happen to you for it to matter to you. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Frankie's going to be fine. My kids went to public school. They're okay." Of course he's gonna be fine. I know that. I've done harder things in my life before and we have succeeded. And if you know Frankie, you will know that that is a very accurate statement. It's the whole way it was announced, the whole way it was decided, the lack of perceived empathy from you all, from administration. This sets the future for the tone of our school, and I don't like the direction that it's heading. I fully understand why. I get combining the middle school and the high school. I understand the 3-year cycle. I don't agree with the how. To lose 30% of our 5th graders in a lottery is not acceptable. My child is not collateral damage for you to develop an adolescent program that could be a jewel that you can advertise to other people. And I'm not just advocating for my child. Please don't tell me I understand that you need for me to advocate. I'm advocating for the entire 5th grade class in the upper elementary. I'm advocating for all of upper elementary. No child deserves to be left behind for this combined charter. As Jared mentioned, how much more could we accomplish if we had all of these kids with Montessori experience? We know it's a struggle. So it seems counterproductive to purge students who have been at the school for 8 years like my son. And I know there's kids that were in CASA and some are even in pre-primary. My son started in 2.5 at Montessori World School. I believe we can fix this though. We can go back and rethink this whole issue just a little bit. We want to join you. This community wants to join you. We want to be involved in these decisions. We want to help you find a solution. We are a strong community that helped build this school from the ground up. I read in a broom closet to kindergartners in 2017. That was where I worked with them. Okay. We need time. We need to see the numbers. I want to see enrollment numbers. I want to see projection numbers. I want to see the financial numbers. We need a working session with this parent community. We need teachers to be involved, both middle, high, lower, and upper L. And I think together we can find a solution that favors natural attrition and not a secondary lottery. Let's make a decision together that helps our students. Thank you for your time.
All right, I'm going to talk fast. All right, my statement is about the 7th grade lottery. I joined the board of directors in the school's first year of operation. We had kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. K-12, Kathy. We added 3rd grade. We needed space and we made the space. 2013, 4th grade rising. We expanded our lease and we made the space for all children who wanted to stay. 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, each year we added a grade. We needed space and we made the space as tenants in a strip mall in a fast growing real estate market. Sometimes the space was contiguous. Other times teachers walked students past a hair salon to get to the playground. We made it work. There was no guarantee space would be available when we needed it. Sometimes we leased a year in advance to plan for the future. We negotiated right of first refusal deals with the landlord on space that might become available. 2018, we moved to our new campus, which solved the problem we've had since the start. Space. High school was born. It lived on main campus. 2019, we added sophomores. 2020, we added juniors. 2021, our first graduating class. Did we have space for high school on main campus? No. We utilized portables. We made the space. We have always made the space for our kids matriculating up. Sorry. And why is that? Because we care about our kids. My daughter briefly left IMO for big public middle school. It was a disaster, and not because it wasn't Montessori. It was because the system of big public school, the bureaucracy, the machinery did not care about her the way IMO cared about her, the way Miss Eileen cared about her, the way Miss Kathy cared about her, the way Miss Patrice cared about her. That is the distinctive difference between IMO and big public school. And that is why this decision to not find the space for our 7th graders when we have always found the space feels like a decision that big public school would make, but not our school. Our dreams back at Plant Street were never so beautiful as the reality that we have now. 2 beautiful campuses, CASA, high school cafeteria, a multi-purpose room. If we come together as the community that I know we are, we can and we will find the space for all of our kids. Thank you. My name is Stacy Farmer. I'm a mother to a 4th grader and kindergartner here at IMO. My 4th grader took us 5 tries to get him in the lottery, by the way. The thought of him re-entering the lottery in a couple years is really just nauseating to me. I'm also a pediatric physician assistant. I've been working in pediatrics for 15 years. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, from a medical perspective, of how my understanding of childhood development of the brain is throughout childhood and adolescence. The middle school years is a very unique and precarious stage of life. You have a mixture of a wide ranges of development. Some kids are prepubescent, some kids are mid-puberty, and they're experiencing surge of hormones during this stage of life. This surge of hormones remodels the brain. This remodeling of the brain causes a lot of cognitive and emotional changes that they're going through during this stage of life. How teenagers during this young period of time spend their time and the company that they keep actually shapes the sort of brain that they will take with them into adulthood. In addition to the surge of hormone, they're also much less developed in their front part of their brain, the prefrontal cortex, which gives you the ability to plan and think about consequences of your actions, solve problems, and control impulses. As a result, this stage of life refers a lot more to the back part of your brain called the amygdala, which is more in charge of emotions, impulses, aggression, and instinctive behavior. This is not being said to imply that our young teenagers do not possess the ability to make rational decisions, rather to highlight that when they are put in situations that are under high emotional states, for example, being in a group with a lot of older teenagers who they may emulate and want to be and do things like, the probability rises that they are much more likely to make, that their rational decision-making ability is inhibited. If you mix this with a group of older high school students whose hormonal surge has settled down, whose interests are shifted more into mature topics with a brain that's a little closer version of an adult-like brain, however, the risk-taking behavior hasn't quite fizzled out yet, you're setting our younger teens up for experiencing more mature parts of life prematurely. Middle school students are also in a stage of self-discovery. They're trying to figure out who they are. They're gaining their independence. Compare that to high school students who are much more settled into their identities and into themselves, and they're more focused outward on social relationships with peers. I keep hearing administration kind of clumping all of adolescence together, talking about one plane of development, but this really overlooks the distinction between the younger and older adolescent child. By mixing these 2 age groups together, you're going to grow our younger teens up too early, and it doesn't foster a space for older teens to be more grown and to come into adulthood. Administration made it very clear that there's not enough physical space to keep the 2 age groups separate into that high school building that we currently have. They will be mixed together. The National Institute of Health states that this younger adolescent age group stands to profit from a learning experience that allows them to have emotional experiences in a safe environment and a program that's intentionally designed to train emotional regulation. I'm concerned the school is not equipped to provide the social emotional support that middle school age needs to keep their youth and innocence protected in this more mature
Thank you very
environment
much. We appreciate
that
it.
the schoolers deserve to have preserved.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers for the room?
This is also an extempore. It's really good to see all of you. I haven't seen a lot of your faces, and I see your kids' faces more than I see your faces. So it's nice to see your faces this time. I have done a lot of soul searching through this whole thing, and I have gotten a chance to actually talk with all 3 of you in the last 24 hours. And a lot of what I have to say is kind of fueled from that, because I've gotten the chance to hear your direct thoughts. And I really appreciate that time. And I think the one thing that I feel like I can take away from all of this is that communication has been really tricky with this whole process. And it's not necessarily a comment on any of this whatsoever, but like looking forward, I would ask the board to really think about ways that we can improve the communication that happens with the public, because I wonder if a lot of this happened because you folks were so involved in these really, really big decisions, and we were involved in raising our lives or teaching the kiddos and things like that. And it ended up being like two ships passing in the night, you know, because I've gotten to sit down and I see where you're coming from. And I think a lot of the feelings that everyone is feeling right now are things that you folks got to deal with, you know, 2 months ago or 1 month ago. And it's like we're feeling a lot of that same angst and a lot of probably the same really similar feelings, but because we're at the beginning of it and you're kind of on the end of it, it's like, how can we figure out a way in the future to make sure that that communication happens on a more similar level, just so that we can make sure that we do feel like we are working from a united front. And I understand that there are so many cogs that I am not going to understand, nor is it necessarily my place to be a deciding factor in that. But I also know that I don't envy your position whatsoever. Like, this has got to be so hard. This has to be so hard for all of you folks. This has to be so hard for you folks. This has to be so hard for all of the parents. Yeah, so thank you. I really do. I mean, yeah, it's just hard. Everything's hard.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachita. I have 2 kids in the school. One just entered kindergarten, and I was elated when he got through, but now the question marks are in a bubble in the head at this time. So sometimes there is so much to say, but you wonder where to start from. So I'm going to start with thanking all of you for everything you do. It's not easy. You guys are working on this. You have been working on this. We just want to request you to share what you have got, because we want to help. I know everybody's spoken about this before, and I am going to probably repeat some of the things, maybe summarize some of it. Please bear with me. We don't want to question the abilities of the board, and that is why we want to request you to help us understand the why of this decision. It's not been sitting well with parents, teachers, and the guardian community. We want to request the meeting minutes of the working meetings to understand why, how, and what to do as identified by the board before we can think of ways to possible ways to have inclusivity. I'm sure you'd understand that a set of 300, 400 active adult problem-solving minds can help bridge any gaps left by a wonderful board. It's hard to think that we nurture kids into a way of life, Montessori learning ways, and then at some point in their education span of 7 and 8 years, we tell them, you're no longer going to be continuing this because your numbers, and we can't make it work because there's no more room for you. There's heartbreak, there's dejection, and there are consequences for no actions from them. This is not the kind of life experience we can envision for our next generation leaders or decision makers. We cannot have a successful model that will work if we have so much uncertainty about lottery and selection. What do you think is a steady state of working? Is it dropping kids and filling them back in upper elementary to drop them again in a few years? I don't know. If parents will not be able to expect a stable K-12, they will go to their next best choice than living in uncertainty. And it makes hard for parents who stay to be able to talk to their network and tell them about this amazing school that can make difference to this world. In the end, I just like to request you to please let us work with you to find a solution, and don't give up on those kids that may be left out because we didn't think through it completely to execute in a way that couldn't have room for all. Thank you.
Do we have any more speakers in the room?
Right, so first I would like to say thank you to the board for your service to our school and thank you for allowing me this time to speak. Change is, while difficult, can be a necessary part of growth. However, there are effective and equitable ways to go about major change. In previous meetings, I've heard many members and representatives discuss the importance of trust and how these changes need to, quote, be done right. I understand that consolidating the middle school and high school was always the thing. But as innovation has seen many times before, plans change. Our board president just a moment ago made wonderful comments about how we need to take the necessary time to problem solve and embrace these changes in the right way. So why are we not taking this time now? Can this really be the right steps to take when it hurts approximately 30% of our student body each year? How can the students, parents, and families trust an organization that makes these kinds of decisions, especially without us? There are many areas to look at, areas that we want to be a part of. I recognize that the motivation behind this decision is to build a future for the school with the Montessori tenets in mind. That was a future that we previously trusted you to guide us through. However, it is a future that is now uncertain for many of the students at the school. This plan, as it stands, would divide us and tear many students away from the education community they came to know and love. It is these reasons that I urge the board and the Innovation Administration to search for a better solution before moving forward.
I actually did write something, but as I'm sitting here, a lot more came to my mind, so I think I'm gonna wing this. First, I want to say thank you so much to the board. You guys have not gone unnoticed. I know you guys do a lot of work and all that. I don't want you to think that we don't appreciate you. We really do. But I'm here today because my main concern is the lottery. My daughter, for 3 years, we've been trying to get her into this school and she finally did. And we were told, once you're in, you're good. But now that changed. Now all of a sudden this got dropped on us that we have to now go through a lottery and it's uncertainty again. So I'm asking you, we're all asking you to please consider this lottery. This is not going to be best for the children. The adolescent age, I understand about the merge. It is a Montessori practice. I've respected that and I understand it. But to do a lottery at that age as well, adolescents are already a very hard age to begin with. I, as a parent, as an educator actually, can tell you that it's a very hard age. So when you're going to them and saying, sorry, you can't return this year because the school doesn't have room for you, how do you think that child's going to feel? I'm not just advocating for mine, I'm advocating for all the 30% we're being told that are not going to be welcomed after this lottery. So I appreciate you guys listening to us. I just really hope that we as a community can come together and think of a plan on how we can make this work, because I'm listening and we're all hearing on how we were able to make space year after year after year, because us as parents, as a family, as a community, worked really hard to do this. And this is something I'm really hoping the board and the parents and the rest of us can get on board and work together to solve this solution. Thank you.
Oh, are they supposed to? Are they supposed to?
Typically.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
oh, yeah.
I'm taking it.
Do we have any more speakers in the room? Please state your name when speaking. Sorry. Come back. Small detail.
My name is Ingrid Fernandez, and we were blessed to join this school when my son entered BBK. It was a dream come true because I had been doing a lot of research work to get him since he was born. Right now we have 2 kids in this institution. Sophia is in the PK3 and Christian is in 2nd grade. I can speak volumes of the education level that they get here. And I'm sorry I'm getting very emotional because I feel very passionate. As an immigrant coming to this country and having the opportunity to raise my kids in this system is something that I never thought possible of. And now being faced with the uncertainty of having them go in both of them through the lottery and being, as they said, collateral damages, makes me or reminds me of the Hunger Games. It feels to me like we're sacrificing them for a decision that I might not understand, as many parents have said. But as I have seen this dream that
I never thought was gonna be possible for us. And I have seen, and I remember watching the movie and sharing it with all my friends and being so proud of this place and trying to recruit as many parents I know to this place. We commute about an hour and a half every day just got here. And even though it's hard, it's a sacrifice that my husband and I decided to make just for their education. And I'm absolutely sure that if we are part of this decision, as every parent has said, or people that have spoken tonight, we're gonna be able to find a solution. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesse Albanese. I've got a son in second grade and a daughter in fourth grade. And guess I kind of want to echo a little bit of what other people said. Our situation is a little different because we just moved here last summer. We came from a Montessori school that we really love, but we decided that when we decided we were going to move, like finding a school for our kids was our #1 priority. And we found this place and we came, did the tour. We really, really loved it. Going through the lottery was very stressful. And our son made it in at the beginning of the school year, and then our daughter didn't make it in, and we homeschooled her. We decided it was worth the wait, and she was offered a spot halfway through the year, which we're really grateful for. And then when we heard about that there was going to be another lottery, I don't know, it's caused a lot of stress and made, me and my wife feel very anxious, about if we made the right decision to come here. And because we kind of thought that once we were here, our kids were going to be able to go all the way through high school. So I know it's a big complicated decision, or a big complicated process and all that. Like, and I don't think I understand all the facts and all the factors that are going into it. And I would like to, if there's a way that I could help, I don't really know. But I would hope that there's another way so that, we don't have to put everybody through a lottery again.
Do we have any more speakers in the room?
I can see
Going once? No.
I had a bunch of stuff written and now I have like 3 words written. So, because everybody said a lot of stuff. I said, I did bring cookies.
You were the culprit.
So, like we said, I think everybody here on the board has been talking about this for a while. Or maybe not, that part's kind of unclear to me also, if it's been a recent thing or a long-term thing. But if you think about kind of the stages of grief, maybe you are more towards the acceptance phase and everybody else is more towards the anger or sadness phase. And I ask that you kind of bring us with you up to speed on that. And also listening to the board meeting last month, and even you said at the top of it, it's in preparation for it. It hasn't been decided yet. And so I want to echo that to all the families here that it sounds like it hasn't been decided yet. And I do want to say it's kind of confusing because admin has been presenting this as it has been decided. So I just want to ask for both of you as 2 groups to discuss that and clarify your message, because it is very confusing to everyone here and it's caused a lot of stress with, is it decided or is it not? Is it in preparation to happen or is it already concluded? The other things I just wanted to say is, the first board meeting that I walked into, we had just moved here and I noticed there's no crosswalks, there's no street signs, there's no nothing. We moved here with the intention of being able to bike with my daughters here as a way to be independence. Fast forward now, we do have a crosswalk. I talked to the board and I talked to the city, learned that it was the city's decision to do that. I emailed them a bunch of times and we got that. And so I'm hearing everyone say these things that we solved. And even in the board meeting, high school and such like that, when that happened, I don't know how many years, but we talked through it. And so I think as parents are asking to be involved in those conversations, please do that and please listen in. I know it's on the agenda to talk and discuss that, Just listen to everybody else. So thank you.
I'm gonna try. So I emailed my comment because I didn't think I'd be able to get through it, but I know you guys have been watching, so I'm gonna try. If I fail, I'm gonna sit down. I'm not gonna cry, but I need to try. Good evening, IMO board and staff members. I'm Tina Skipper, and I'm actually gonna say these words because I can use my logical mind and my heart. So this is not my first meeting with the board, but it is my first public comments. Over the last 6 years, I watched and learned as the experienced IMO parents discuss past topics like rapid expansion to Lake County, the fine balancing act of turning our school to a big business versus supporting our students, expanding our brand new school, navigating COVID and the reopening. Each meeting, I'm inspired by the grace and courtesy, the logic and student focus, and the unwavering desire to support our children. I am speaking today as I fear this meeting is different, and I hope to remind this board of past discussions and topics and how you all came together to ensure our children and us have a tight-knit community. We are tight-knit because of the decisions from years past. My focus is bringing to light the sharp turn away from that with the lottery for 7th grade. Years prior, the objective of the board was fill and feed. The concept was simple and made sense. Load CASA, primary, and lower L, and those students would be raised, trained, and excel in the Montessori method to create a smoother middle and high school transition. There was talk of not allowing new students after lower L. If that becomes the focus once more, natural attrition would be enough to eliminate the lottery, or at the absolute least, allow it to be delayed until 9th grade, which I feel is a better age and more natural transition away from IMO and IMHS. I stand with the words of every other parent and educator in this room, and I believe the board and the powers that be will create a working solution. I have 3 kids at school, but Logan is an original IMO kid. He was the first 3-year-old to walk into a brand new primary building. He was likely the first to pee on the floor there. He was responsible for digging the glass shards off the primary playground after the build was complete. You're welcome, primary moms. He is now in 3rd grade, well-rounded, self-sufficient young man and mature beyond his years. I wish I could take credit for that. The truth is, you did this. You created a child who is well-rounded. He is unfortunately aware through his class that students are being kicked out, and he is concerned and unsure. He explained what was happening tonight. He said, I know what this is. This is a story. Every story has a problem, and every story needs a solution. If the story doesn't have a solution, the problem gets bigger. This one's easy. There's a solution.
At the end of our public comments in person. Do you want to move to any? public
Okay,
comments?
we're gonna open up for anybody online. So if you could please chat your name in the chat, first name and last name, that would be helpful. And we will go in the order in which people type their names into the chat.
Madhav up first.
Yeah, okay. Madhav,
Hi, everyone. This is Madhav Mehra. I'm the parent of a 4th grader and a pre-kindergartner. And I really
go
appreciate
ahead,
everything
Madhav.
the school.
Oh, hold on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, we're good. Yep, we got our speaker up. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Madhav Mehra. I'm the parent of a 4th grader and a pre-kindergartner. And I really appreciate everything the school has done. And we moved to Ocoee to be with the school. And we really appreciated the vision of a K-12 charter Montessori school that has been built brick by brick, sweat by sweat, blood by blood by so many people. And we want to be contributing as much as we can. And I think some of us know what our family has in whatever small steps we have tried to contribute. But what I really want to say in this in this meeting is that I believe this secondary lottery will make the school unpalatable for many parents, and it will be very difficult to attract students and parents to the school. So I would request the board, whatever has to be done, it might be a one-time pain for some of us at the school currently, but we should find a solution that stabilizes and does not impose a lottery going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Not for everybody. Okay.
Amanda Cease, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Amanda Cease, and I have students in 3rd grade and pre-kindergarten. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So we weren't planning to speak tonight, but after hearing several folks, we felt the need to speak up as well. And we too thought we must have been behind on the decision because it seemed to have come out of the blue. And while our children aren't directly impacted this year or in the coming year, I do think it'll impact the community. And clearly, by what we're hearing tonight, that seems obvious to us. Our family has been involved in the school, kind of on the periphery from the very beginning in the strip mall through relatives who are now in upper L and high school. And we're excited to have our children at IMO. You know, Stacy asked at the beginning to come up with ideas. So that's why we're speaking up. It's because we feel like we have an idea and we have a thought on, you know, maybe you've thought through this, but at the beginning of the development of the campus, we went to Building Hope for input. And are we going back there? Are we going to other advisors to get thoughts and ideas on how we can be successful here? Building Hope, their website says they offer a whole charter support unit free of charge. So I would love to see us go back to advisors to get input from them on how we can be successful. We have to think that we'd probably be near the top of their list, having worked with us before, that they would be interested in seeing the growth that this school has. You know, in the past, we also had Sherilyn, who led the school through its largest expansion. Maybe we can reach out to her. It's not a secret how important her role was that she played in the development of the school. And so I would think that we'd want to get thoughts from people who helped us in the beginning. Maybe we can hire a specific project manager to get input from the community and work through all of this with us. We know the board of directors, not their full-time job. So how can we get somebody dedicated to this work that can really spend the time and get feedback from everybody that clearly a lot of folks have? So just want to ask and put it out there that we feel like maybe there's an opportunity to go back to what made our school successful in the past and go back to those advisors and those individuals to help us grow into the future.
Thank you. Megan, you're up next. Hear me? Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for holding space for this tonight for all of us. My name is Megan Marr, and I'm mom to Micah and Reed Marr. And I'm just here to share my concerns about the decision to bring the middle school over to IMHS. I certainly understand the rationale behind the decision to move the middle school to the high school building, and it makes sense in so many ways. But the kind of lack of communication and lack of transparency towards the high school body and to parents and to students is a lot to swallow. And I'm also deeply concerned about the impact of upwards of 30% of our 6th graders. These are committed long-term members of our IMO community and their families. 30% of these students who want to continue at IMO, but they potentially won't be able to because of the lottery. Since we've been at this school for 5 years, I've been very invested and involved in the school through, volunteering my time and skills in a variety of ways. And I'm so dedicated to the school's success. But I'm really struggling to understand why we need to rush into this new structure when it's not serving all students. The relocation of the middle school is going to result in the removal of middle school students who want to be here, and at the same time possibly adding outside students to increase and balance the numbers. As a community, we're privileged to have a group of parents and teachers and administrators and staff and volunteers who are so devoted and involved. It's what makes IMO the treasure that it truly is. So I respectfully ask that you allow this engaged and willing community to team up together to evaluate the ramifications of this proposal and collaboratively explore all solutions. So I respectfully ask for that the following things be considered: a dedicated PTO liaison with voting privileges at each board meeting, and that the school advisory council be independent from the board and comprised of members from our entire community, and if deemed necessary, effectively implement this plan.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Elliot, you are next. You want to go ahead and take the mic?
Yeah, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Wonderful. So I'll be reading out a comment from an anonymous community member and then sharing a few thoughts of mine after I'm done. I'm speaking against the middle school merge and would like to state that Maria Montessori was against middle school adolescents being put into the high school environment. Here's an article about her thoughts on the adolescent middle schooler. As a proponent for the child at every age, Maria Montessori did what no one before did, and few since have done. She studied the adolescent, his characteristics, and his needs. She found out what has been confirmed by modern-day scientists, that in early puberty and the adolescent finds it hard to concentrate on academic and structured learning. There's a decline in his motivation from elementary school into middle school, probably because of puberty. Maria Montessori decided it wasn't right to match traditional schooling to the budding adolescent, who is so full of exploding hormones and consequently unsure of themselves, full of self-doubt even. Maria Montessori did not see the adolescent as a miniature high schooler. She did not create junior high schools or middle schools that were patterned after high schools. Instead, she created a unique curriculum appropriate for the adolescent. It was called Earth School or Erdkinder. In her school, adolescent children would live in a communal setting, away from their families and close to nature, eat fresh farm products, and carry on practical work related to the economics of supplying food, shelter, transportation, and so forth. Intellectual work would still be done, but only of the child's interests and free of all pressure. But we can't send our adolescents off to the farm today. But what hasn't changed is the biology of the child, and that is something we shouldn't overlook. The credit of this article is given to the Center Montessori website. As you can see, Maria Montessori never intended the middle school age group to be miniature high schoolers. By assuming this is Montessori inspired is in fact false and could be damaging to not just the middle schoolers by not allowing them their own space, but in fact throw off and ruin the high school environment, which is a different developmental stage. Expecting our high school to accommodate the middle school needs may be throwing the baby out with the bathwater by ruining the middle school experience, the prepared high school environment, and disrupting the balance of the educators. And my own thoughts on the matter as a current high school student, I don't think that this decision has been given enough thought. I don't believe that the school has the infrastructure to support the shift for middle school students into the high school students. And I'm not talking about simply space or staff, because I know that that could be figured out. I'm saying that the middle schoolers aren't prepared for the drastic shift to the high school environment, the focus on college, higher stress, and something closer to a traditional high school experience. And I think sacrificing the experience of those middle schoolers and high schoolers would be,
Thank
I
you,
guess,
Elliot.
premature.
Appreciate your
Sorry.
comment. Thank you very much. Mario, you are up next, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Mario Farmer. I'm the father of a fourth grader and a kindergartner at IMO. And I just wanted to start by saying that it took us 5 years of applying through the lottery to for our son to be accepted into the fourth grade program. And through that, it wasn't until our youngest reached kindergarten that we were able to receive what we call the sibling bump to get him in. And he's only been in the school since January, so it's only been a couple of months. But it's been a lot of years of praying and wishing and waiting. But my son, he missed out on a number of years of that Montessori experience. And thinking about that now, he would be affected by the lottery. And to know that he just started the Montessori experience, and then in 2 years from now that could be taken away. It's very it's nauseating. So I just ask that and I know there's a lot of great minds in the room. I think we could all put our heads together to see if we can come up with a solution. However, the other thing that I'm still struggling with is the why. And I'm sure there's a great reason. And I know there was an email effectively saying this is what's happening, but myself and others, I still feel like we don't truly understand the reasoning for this. So I'd be happy to help out with a solution. But the first thing I need to know is the actual problem and understand why this is happening. And if one of the things I'm asking is if you can do it either during this meeting or later on, if you could give us a true explanation of why, I think that would be very helpful to everyone. Thank you.
Kim, you're up next.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Camilleri. I've had multiple students, bio and not, at the school for a number of years. And the one I'd actually like to speak on behalf of is my youngest. His name is Sagan, and he is one of the he was one of the 3-year-olds that started when our Ocoee campus opened. So he was supposed to be one of the kids that was able to start as an innovation Montessori Ocoee child and go all the way up. With what has been presented now, as his older siblings have, will phase out and everything, one of which, we're not really sure if he's a good Montessori fit, and that's okay, and we acknowledge that. But with not having him there, suddenly Sagan, he won't have a sibling anymore to give him that bump. And so in order for him to have already invested years of being this sweet, ideal Montessori child who is just amazing, and I really value everything he's gained from this school and what we've gained from the community, even though, I have concerns, and I always discuss that with admin. I'm actually really excited about the idea of trying to use middle school and high school teachers collaboratively together, because I have had concerns about stretching our teachers too thin across 2 campuses and what that's meant for my current middle schooler right now. But I hate for Sagan to pay the price and to be a kid who's been here for, his whole academic career, and then suddenly his contribution to the school isn't worth coming up with a different solution. So if there's something else that is needed from us, the parents, to help the school, to support the school, be it more volunteers. I mean, I was the room chair parent for many years, and I know we have the same people volunteering, and we have the same people who get burnt out and get tired. So if we need to rally more support for our teachers, if we need to have more people helping grade papers or helping tutor kids, because we have a wealth of people here with, great educational backgrounds, then please utilize us and please let us know how we can help admin and staff, because we don't want to sacrifice our little kiddos that have put in the work and done nothing wrong, only to be sent away. And that's it.
Thank you, Kimberly. Christy?
Hi there. My name is Christine Marine, and I too am similar with Kim. I have a young current fourth grader who has been here since she was 2.5. She has gone the full gamut from the strip mall all the way to where she is now. And so I too am worried, as I'm not sure where her siblings will be. So she too may be having to go into the lottery. And so that does make me a bit nervous. I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to comment about is, as the board has moved more towards as I understand from previous board meetings, more a board that governs over, not as a governing committee, but I don't even know what the word y'all use. I just am wondering where we're looking in the near future for fundraising, because I really feel that is one of the biggest things that has happened in the past couple of years, basically due to COVID and other things. We've lost the big gala, we've lost Pizza Friday, we've lost a whole bunch of different things. And, something as easy as planned giving. And I know, I just don't think a lot of the newer families, and we have grown significantly, know a lot about that even as an option. So maybe my suggestion moving forward, is that we could really start investing in a more robust fundraising effort. I'm not sure that would 100% help with all this, because I too am not completely understanding where the issues are. Is it FTEs versus being able to actually find people? But that would be my comment, is just where do we plan to go with fundraising in the future, and could that help at all?
Thank you, Christy. Rachel Smith.
Hi there. Yes, my name is Rachel Smith. I have 3 kids at Innovation in CASA and Lower L and Upper L. And I just wanted to say that Innovation Montessori has just truly positively impacted and shaped really the structure of my family. And I'm grateful that we have belonged to this community. It's our sixth year here now. And I just really couldn't even imagine how our life would look as parents, as a family, if we weren't part of IMO. And I just hope that there's a way for us to work through this challenge, so that everybody that does want to be part of IMO will be able to do so. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to all of our concerns. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Amy Weiland.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I feel like I've probably sent a few of you emotional emails, and thank you for reading those if you had the time. I am so impressed by everybody that has showed up tonight, and I'm always such a fan of the board and the administration, and I love the school. I have an 18-month-old who I want to come to the school. I have a 4th grader who I really hope doesn't get kicked out of the school. I don't think she would make it through the lottery. So please let us do whatever we can to save the kids that want to be at this school. I don't know if you can hear me at this point, because I feel like I'm getting real quiet, because I don't want her to hear me, because she's in the hallway looking at me, and I don't want her to know how worried I am that she's not going to make it through. I love you guys. Please let me know what I can do to help and what the other parents can do to help. So yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Keela?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing this long time for all of us to talk. I can feel there is a big momentum here, and after the meeting on Friday, my heart just wants to fundraise. I just want to echo on the words of Christy and Jamie. If we know the numbers, we can make the numbers. We can make our plan giving link viral. We can do this because we are a community, a tight community who wants and love the Montessori, the IMO community that we are a part of. So I echo what Jamie said. Have one kiddo as well, and whatever happens, happens. But we have been here for long enough that I feel like as a family, we want to leave a legacy. Whatever happens, happens, as I said. But if we can fundraise to allow for more IMO families to be part of this education, let's make it happen. Just tell us what we need to do. Let's stick together as we have been doing for many years. So thank you.
Kristen has some comments to read, so we'll go ahead and let her do those this time.
Okay, this is on behalf of Amber Boas to IMO administration and the board of directors. My name is Amber, and my two kids, Adam Fischler and Trillian Fischler, are longtime students here at IMO. Trillian in particular has been here since pre-K4 and primary. Aside from earlier pre-K 3 experience at WAMS, she has known no other school. Trillian is now in 5th grade and will be a rising 7th grader in the spring of 2024, making her among the first group affected by this new proposed internal lottery. Like so many other parents, I have invested heavily in this school, going above and beyond the required volunteer hours, using my skills over many years to create and maintain a unique butterfly garden here for the student body to learn from and enjoy. I've contributed financially by growing and donating plants for our garden and our plant sales, supporting middle school service learning through my weekly involvement with IMO's Garden Club. Really love this school and want us to see us succeed and grow going forward. My priority with this statement is to understand why the proposed move of the middle school to the high school building is worth the collateral damage of ejecting a significant percentage of our students. I have not heard any explanation yet that convincingly justifies such a policy. The explicit priority of the school and of the board is to support a solid educational experience for all our students. This policy fails in that respect. I understand that the board and administration feel this move is needed to support adolescents in better alignment with Montessori pedagogy. That is the rationale I have heard from you. I have no objection to that, but I would just ask, is it really worth the cost of undermining 30% of committed long-term IMO 6th grade students and families in the process? Help me understand why we cannot wait and try to find a solution that doesn't require such an extreme sacrifice from our student body. Why, when we have a system that is currently functioning and serving all our students, are we rushing to move to a new system that won't serve all our students? Is there some impending catastrophe that has yet to be shared? Most parents, am I at 3 minutes? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. I think I'm gonna make it. Okay. Is that my warning? Okay. Let's see. Most parents understood and accepted the previously controversial decision to buy the high school building rather than build our own because the unthinkable alternative was to not have a high school. We simply couldn't afford to build one. What unthinkable thing happens if we don't do this move? What could possibly justify this extreme and extremely unpopular decision to remove some of our current IMO students? Please tell me. I know some of you personally, and I know you all care deeply about our school and our students as well. I'm sure you're doing what you think is right. If you truly do feel casting out our students, one of them who could be my daughter, is absolutely necessary, then it is my hope however, that the board will reconsider this divisive approach and work with our dedicated school community to find a way to fulfill that most important part of your mission statement, support all our students. Okay, and Tina read hers, so good there, Tina.
I have
Great
one to
job.
read as well. Do you have another one?
I have
Oh, okay,
two
there's
more,
some more.
yeah. This is from Amy Harrington. Dear board members, we are parents of 2 IMO students, one a rising kindergartner and one a rising 4th grader. We would like to ask that you reconsider the vote in favor of instituting the 2024-25 lottery for rising 7th graders. While we understand the multiple reasons listed for this proposed change, it seems to not be in the nature of the Montessori mindset that you have worked so hard to establish in the IMO community. One of the things we deeply appreciate about our school is the spirit of inclusivity and the hard work you have put into creating an environment of Montessori education that goes beyond the typical lower elementary years. Your ability to forge an uncharted path in the Florida education system shows that you value thinking outside the box and creative solutions. In our time at IMO, we have been witness to the board's ability to navigate extremely difficult situations with the best interest of all students and faculty as a top priority. We ask that you be open to exploring other options to allow space for all rising 7th grade students who wish to remain at IMO for middle school to do so. Okay. Amy. Right. And I also have a final comment that is some statements from IMHS students that would like their voices heard about the merge. And this is from anonymous students in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. To whom it may concern, I ask that you do not merge middle school with our beloved high school. It may not be the school we signed up for, but we'd like the time to grow into our own space. The decision to downsize our high school may be a financial one, but it really shows how out of touch you all are with today's high school teens and what our needs are. We have also been very patient with all the ups and downs and are the ones going through the day-to-day classroom environment, and our thoughts need to be taken into consideration. This negligent attitude has led to a very distrustful and harmful perception of what our administrators and leaders are up to. Maria Montessori's philosophy is over 100 years old. Her first school existed for kids of 2 years old to 6 years old with mental illness. Eventually, she conducted further studies through the adolescent years and concluded that middle schoolers had different needs than that of high schoolers. Thank you for listening. Oops, there's more. Sorry, there's 4 more small comments. Before you got, my main concern with the merger is the skill and maturity clash. There is a large difference between interest and focus in 7th through 12th grade. So unless the grades can be separated properly, it might cause too much distraction and frustration in the upperclassmen. However, there is an opportunity for teaching as interested students could instruct the lower grades. There will need to be a dedicated plan to strike a balance between the upper and lower grades. I fear the loss of identity within the high schoolers as a high school community. The middle schoolers will inevitably be seen as intruders into the community, and this might harm the community as a whole. And finally, another concern of ours is space. With more grades come more students and a higher workload for teachers, as well as crossing to public school level. You have one?
And I had one that was sent to me yesterday. From the staff member. I want to start off by acknowledging that change can be scary. When faced with having questions that do not have immediate answers, it can feel uneasy. The decision to combine our secondary programs to one campus is a decision that will bring major change. These past few weeks, when I reflect on all the questions I have, I remain driven by the belief that this change will help us preserve a truly authentic Montessori program on the secondary level for several reasons. This is a time when Maria Montessori believed our students enter a stage of social interdependence. They need freedom and space to work and grow. With increased class sizes, we are limited with providing that space for everyone. This is my 5th year at IMO, and each year we have added a few more students while remaining in the same space. Moving to the other campus will not only let the secondary 1 program remain a smaller class size average, it will allow the secondary 2 program to maintain smaller class sizes. I know that limiting the number of students in this program sounds like a negative. If I had it within my power, I would create more schools that can provide this philosophy and community for all students. But maintaining this high level of population diminishes our ability as guides to create and prepare learning environments that foster interdependence. The move also supports positive growth by maximizing the wait list for lower grades with more abundant list, as it has been challenging to bring in new students at the middle school level who come to us without any Montessori experience. It is a natural transition for both secondary programs to be able to work closer proximity to one another and not an effort to take away the autonomy of both programs, but to learn and bond with students and guides moving through similar journeys of valorization. I know that this is a community based in grace and courtesy, and it is easier to shy away from these values when you feel tested. But now is the time to stand behind these values more than ever. That is our strength. One thing that will not change is the continued effort made by our team and our administration team to make choices based on what is best for our students in the long run. We have trusted this community to lead us in the right direction so far, and I hope to continue this legacy of trust as we move into the next phase of development. Thank you for your time. I believe that is the end of our public comment section.
Can we get a stretch break?
Yes,
Do we
we'll
want
take
a
a
5 minute?
5-minute stretch break.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good break.
Patrick is offered cookies.
I need a cookie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
really.
'Cause I want a cookie. I'm gonna be like the first, I'm gonna get a free cookie.
You can have a cookie.
No, I just made,
Fine.
I'm gonna look at it. And say, like,
Go ahead and unmute that. Somebody could give me a sign in the chat that you're still hearing us okay, that would be great. But I think we're gonna start moving on to the next. We have a few votes that we need to take care of tonight. The first one is the staff paid time off policy, which was circulated out via Patrice to all of you to take a look at. Thank you, Danielle Foley saying yes, great.
Patrice, could you just give us a real quick recap of that?
Actually, I'm waiting for Jared.
Oh, there.
There it is.
Uh-oh.
Where is it?
Only just because, thank Jared, he kind of put this together. It's really nice, a little complicated in terms of some of the, what we're trying to do, but the bottom line is what we want to do is offer our staff, since we now have people that have been here long enough, and we every year we look to try to provide more employment benefits. And so one of the things that we did a couple years ago is have employees that could hold on to 4 weeks of leave. At first, for a long time, we only could hold on to 2 weeks at any given time. So now employees are allowed to hold 4 weeks. We also so at the very beginning of this policy, one of the things that we want to shift to is in the past, and this has to do with the way in which our payroll company ADP was interacting with our PTO policy. It didn't allow us to have an accrual method whereby August, for instance, when teachers would start, we get automatically 3 days. We were giving all the days up front, and oftentimes what would happen is teachers would find out, TAs would find out that they no longer had any PTO because they were using it up so fast. So a typical accrual method, which is you see there, which on August it would have 3 days, September 1 day, and this would be for somebody new and for anybody coming. So every time you come in and you're accruing that amount, but for people who have been here, they're already going to have a bank of PTO time most of the time. Most of the time, potentially they can have that. Does that make sense? So Jared, I was calling on you because I knew you worked with me so much. And by the way, I didn't unmute myself. I think I have to unmute myself, and I do have a lot of voice, but I will unmute in case people. Oop.
Okay, we can turn it down here.
Yeah. So anyway, going further down, what you'll see too, what we are trying to offer is a way in which people who do have more than enough PTO and don't want to take time off, but feel like if I don't take the time off, I'm going to lose the PTO because the amount that they can hold on to. We want to partner with the finance committee to come up with a way of being able to pay out on some of this PTO. And that's where all of that is listed as well. So you have the rollover, how much they can actually roll over. You have the payback of how much they can, or buyback, how much we can buy back. And we have brought this to the finance committee. I don't know if Philip has anything else to say about it, but we've kind of worked on this payout where if you have 0 to 4 years of service, you can pay out extra. It's 80 hours, right?
80 hours is the minimum.
That you have to,
Right, you have to keep. And then anything above that can get.
right, and anything above that can get paid out. And if they've been here for 0 to 4 years, they can pay it out at 25%. 5 or more years, it would pay out at 50%. That's usually the rate of most, organizations when they do this.
Comment I would make from the finance side of it, it's hard to crunch numbers on something like this without having any background, like we don't have any details of your community for how people would apply it and use it. But at least from a thought experiment of going through it, in our current structure right now, it's a little bit of you get vacation time, but oh wait, if you use it, then you're not a good teacher, but if you don't use it, then it just goes away. And I know myself, it's always kind of annoyed me when you're in an organization that you sort of get a benefit. So you get with that though, one of the parts we also look at it from a financial side is this as a level, you're not getting 100% payoff, but at least you get something for it.
Yeah.
Which also means
Philip,
there's less incentive.
I'm gonna try I think we need to just stick with one speaker. It sounds like there's getting feedback or something. So should we put this back up? Do you have are you?
So you want me
unmuted?
to mute mine?
Yeah. I think that it seemed to be working before. I don't know.
When he's.
So from the financial side, though, one of the parts that we've worked through is when someone is out, we oftentimes have to pay to pick up for someone to come in and fill in the classroom space. So at least on initial thinking through this, it should save some aspect of what we spend and even budget for our substitute teachers, while also giving us a more stable classroom because it rewards the teachers for being there. It provides you have a benefit, you don't get to use it. In this case, you would get something, you make a little bit more, but we'll also save money because we won't be paying for the substitutes.
What, forgive me for not knowing this, but what does this change the existing vacation day structure? Or is this just changing it to the PTO structure?
There's three things that's changing. One is the accrual method, because typically, normally what happens is in August, and this had to do with the way ADP was structured, we couldn't have an accrual system built in, but now we can. So it used to be that somebody would get all their pay, all their PTO up front. This way they're accruing it, which is more typical that you see in most organizations. You get 3 days in August and go through that. Then we do call out the ability, they've always been able to roll over. We've increased it, I think it was 2 years ago, we increased it to 4 weeks. And then the last piece is that now we're also adding the fact of payout.
Correct. No, I just want to make sure, I was just curious, is this in addition to a vacation structure, or is this this is the
So
one
this is
structure
the
then?
Yes. Good
Okay.
question, sorry. So yes, we don't really necessarily have a separate time when we call it, you get this much sick time and this much vacation time. This is your paid time off.
Got it. So just one thought, one other option I've seen with this is, I know once you hit the max of 30 days, it gets paid out. Is that what you're stating with the policy? Is that correct?
Yes, our max would be, you have to have at least 20 days. You can't, in other words, you can't dip down below, 80 hours.
Yeah. But you're saying the
Minimum,
max,
I'm saying you have to keep track of it.
the
Right
max
there,
that you
okay.
can carry is 240, and then after that, it gets paid out. Is
Yeah,
that
and
correct?
so at that point, that staff member would have the option to pay out 160 or above, which would be that 80 hours, or anything above 80 hours. So the minimum that you have to retain is the 80 hours. But at that point, if you want to get paid out for those additional weeks, you can.
Certainly. So what I'm asking is, what if I hit 240?
Yeah.
And then next year I get my addition, is that
If you
then?
get 240, we're gonna add a minimum. If you don't elect to pay out the balance over 80 hours, you're gonna get paid out for that 80 hours that's over the 160. The 160 would roll over, and then you could accrue that 80 up to 240 for the next year again. That makes sense?
Yep. So
So the default would be if you're at 240 at the end of the year, or anything above 160, the default will be you get paid out for the difference and you keep the 160. We're allowing staff members, if they wanted to, say, well, I'm gonna elect to get paid out for anything above 80, and I'll roll the 80 hours over, and then just start that.
It's not an automatic system, it's an election option.
Right, there are two, the one automatic would be if you're over 160, you're gonna automatically get paid out and then put you back to 160 unless you elect to get paid out.
So
that would be the default.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess one option I've seen also work too is that, some people, obviously they're going to hit that max and it's going to then pay them out. They're going to restart. So another option there is too, with like an extended illness bank. I don't know if familiar with that, where separate from the PTO, that if once you hit that PTO cap, or, it just rolls in that extended illness, and it almost serves as like a backstop if someone went on FMLA, and there's restrictions around when they can use it, but it's a nice benefit because it gives you that peace of mind, maternity leave, or if injury or something happened, they couldn't work, they have that extended illness to couple. And then they're not just getting paid out. So it's a nice balancing act for the school too, because instead of you just paying it out, you're also giving an added benefit to them that they would. So just a suggestion if you wanted to.
Are they able to currently donate sick leave to others?
We don't have that, right now in policy, but that's certainly something we can, look at.
That's similar to what you're talking about, AJ.
Yeah, it's kind of like what AJ's talking about too.
That is what-
Yeah, and you just,
But also that if somebody was to have an extended
When
illness.
the community
or
rallies
extended
together.
Pregnancy, I
Yeah.
mean, then they would have more available to them,
Mhm.
correct, AJ?
correct. And it's really, it's just there for, you put the restrictions around it.
Right, and it has to be like FMLA.
FMLA related, but it is a nice way to, instead of a short-term disability, long-term disability, it's a nice way to supplement that.
Saying this like in place of being paid out, you roll the hours to the extent.
Correct. You would just have that separate
There's not
bank.
Restrictions on how they can be used, but
Correct.
they would stay basically with your name for as long as you're the organization.
Correct.
Would you usually see that stuff paid out when they leave, or would that be something that would be forfeited?
Or is it not an option to be paid out because it was there as an emergency situation?
Again, it's however you want to design, you have to look at the, but with longevity, you tend to see that it's, too much of a impact.
Right, that's what I'm wondering, how that would be tracked, we just have to figure that out.
Typically, so like ADP or whoever runs your payroll,
Right.
they'll have a separate line item for that. And it's just an accrual, and you see it when you log in.
So I think AJ's idea is a good one. We can always do it at some point, but I don't think it stops us from doing what we're doing.
Certainly.
Okay,
Just a,
So I think I'd like to make a motion to do this, but with a quick clarification, if I could. I think that the payouts are at the hourly rate, and that hourly rate is the last hourly rate you work, not the hourly rate necessarily when you earned the leave. but-
Daily rate, because they're not paid out because it's salary
Well,
based.
it says daily some places, it says hourly some places.
Oh, does it?
Because it's an hourly accrual, I think it's reasonable to prorate it out to an hourly rate. But, so that's two different things, I guess. It doesn't matter to me whether it's daily or hourly, but it should be consistent.
Mhm.
But I think just to clarify that it's whatever you were making on the last day is the rate that's being used to multiply by 80 or multiply by whatever, as opposed to the rate you were making when you accrued that time,
Correct.
because it
Yeah.
happens both ways.
Yeah.
So that's usually the higher number, happier for people. So
And how would you word it on the last day?
the last hourly rate.
Okay.
Or when people are leaving the terminal rate.
You make a really good point too, especially the payouts are likely to happen over summer.
Mhm.
rate change.
Right.
Because if it's all happening at the same
That's what I'm
time.
wondering, is it like we saying? Yeah, you just give me the language.
I mean, a lot of times you'll see, the average over the last 12 months or the
Yeah.
highest 5 years of your last 10 or all kinds of different formula, but I would be happy if it was just whatever you were making the last time you accrued leave.
Yeah, rates. Honestly, quite low in there, so.
Yeah, well, and the likelihood that someone's hourly rate of pay would change from March to.
But some of these are 2-year payouts, and when someone leaves, they get it all back, right?
Right, but he's just.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like if you accrued it 2 years ago and you're getting, you would definitely get paid out. at the
Yeah,
end of the
I'm going to
year.
get paid out, but I get paid now, but I would have gotten paid out 2 years ago. I see what you're doing.
So
And I think
I'm gonna move that we approve it with this
The
clarifying.
clarification. We'll work on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Too. So for, I guess you kind of answered this, the buyback of 25% for the 10-year 1 to 4 and the 50%. If, I was just wondering if that was like appealing, but I think you just said that was normal.
It seems to be normal, like even we've run it through ADP. They felt like it was certainly reasonable, and it seemed like it was similar to what, they see as well, because they work with a lot of smaller businesses.
Okay.
So it seemed to ring.
Yeah, just want to make sure it's like appealing enough that it gives a desired.
Right,
behavior that you-
exactly.
Okay.
Right.
And then at the beginning, it talked about proration of when someone comes in. I guess didn't clarify like how you're gonna prorate it, and maybe now that it's gonna be auto accrual, maybe the system takes care of that. I deal with this stuff at my office, and people are
Okay,
very
gotcha.
emotional about their vacation as they should.
Oh,
be.
yeah.
So I just make sure that we're clear about what that operation means.
So I'm gonna put on here to clarify through ADP. We'll find out what that. language is.
What we do now, we will have to change obviously, because all of our PTO is assigned with right at the start of someone's employment. It just gets prorated based on like how much of the year is left. So I imagine it'd be something similar to that, but also taking into consideration that the 3-day accrual that happens right at the start of the school year. So somehow that would get that factored into looking at like the total of 10 days for the entire school year. How much of the year, what percentage of the year is left, you would get that percentage of total days. We can certainly.
Yeah,
add
I have a
that.
feeling that,
Well, that's
right, because they'll want to know, like, is this on the first day, of September 1st, I get another day, or is it on the 10th day? But I would think it would be first day, but definitely, I think it's clarification, maybe. Yeah. Makes sense.
Sounds like a positive program for our teachers and an incentive that we need to, to move forward with. And, I'm looking at the percentage of rates and thinking that's low. And, but I see, I don't know if that was what your thought was when you
Yeah,
looked at it as
initially,
well. Yeah. But I could see where, especially not knowing what that's gonna look like for a smaller business.
Right.
Right,
Let's
we do
that.
at the end of the day have to be
Right,
a business,
right.
unfortunately, that's part of the job. So how do, then, are we bringing this up maybe next year to look at what those numbers were? And is there an opportunity for an increase in these rates?
I
for
think that's what
offset,
we discussed too. in the
like
finance
to
committee.
put it on the finance committee's, annual agenda?
Similar to like our retirement.
Yeah,
match.
yeah.
It's really hard when you're starting off to know what you're gonna get. Once you get into something and start to have some ratios
Right.
and say, okay, well, we could push this up a bit, definitely in our interest of bringing that higher. But kind of on the incline towards, it'd be better to have something than nothing, but with the intent of then expanding it as we get more established, more history and track record. for us.
I'm still pulling for the encashment piece when you pay for Garmin's and, bicycles and health that, so. I like that idea, but. No, I think this is gonna be a benefit for our teachers, but I think that, we'll have to monitor it and look to see for potential growth for sure. You have your motion now.
I made it.
You-
So I can second it.
We're just waiting.
I'll second.
Right.
And how was that worded, Kevin? I'm sorry. It was
To,
so long
to
ago.
approve it as written, except
Okay.
changing daily rate to hourly rate. And it will be the most recent hourly rate. Everywhere it says hourly rate.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we're also clarifying the
You?
proration for new hires.
And clarifying.
And
Take that as a friendly amendment.
I can't remember if there was.
I think the other one we said, let's do this first and then we can address the other one next, which would be like the way in which maybe there's also an opportunity for FMLA.
Yeah.
To have a larger FMLA, but.
We can look at that later, yeah.
Just
Move forward with
release
this
that
first.
today.
So
Okay,
exploring what AJ had talked about.
Yeah.
okay. So Kevin motioned to approve the policy as written, changing daily to hourly rate and clarification for new hires
That it's prorated. Yeah.
on proration. Okay. Prorating, I don't know. Okay,
And Philip second, all in favor?
all right.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. All right, so we are on to another vote pertaining to the selection of instructional materials policy as it relates to HB 1467.
I don't know, did I?
We were just getting some stuff on that this week too.
Yeah, and I feel like.
The ALF.
Do you remember what exactly I said we needed to vote on for that? Because I know that So just for everybody who wants to know that HB 1467, I believe, or is it
1467, yeah.
Has been one of those bills that's been out there that our honorable law firm has been trying to get clarification for some time of what this really looks like for charters. And even up until recently, he was saying that they are giving him mixed messages. However, they are concerned that we need to have a policy in place for choosing textbooks, because that's also under this bill. This is the bill also around classroom libraries. Thank you, Ariel Schmidt. We love you and adore you that you come in to help that make that happen. So a lot of this, as you know, when a bill is passed and it goes to the department hasn't really provided the rules yet. That's really specific, but most districts are trying to get ahead of it because they're expecting it to come out and say, oh no, you needed to make this happen last month. So the honor law firm is also trying to help us to get ahead of it. Their concern mostly is around, because from our perspective, they feel like we're in good shape. We have the classroom libraries that we're doing. We'll have the classroom libraries list on our website. We have a few other things that we've been able to take care of. So he suggested the textbook committee, and I suggested it because we're now at the time where we've got to purchase textbooks. In the past, we've just purchased textbooks based on standards. We haven't had too many because it's really been more with the adolescent program. So what I was suggesting and looking for Kevin, who may want to give us some language, that I thought that they did provide a policy that I thought looked pretty good. Yeah, you guys were good with it.
Gives that 20 days, I think, minimum before an approval from the board, according to. So the committee would pull together the selection and adoption, and then, provide those 20, looks like 20 days.
Yes, because we have to notice it, we have to get parents to be a part of that committee.
Yeah.
So if Jared and Kathy are gonna start making purchases, it's gotta be at least in June, which means that's why we're hoping we can have a vote on that.
And then
Now, I will say this, I'm gonna preface this, that they are still not sure.
Yeah.
If we're going to have to legally do this as of June and July, but they're strongly suggesting that if we can get ahead of it, to get ahead of it. Kevin, do you have any?
I've said this before about things that the Arnold firm does, that they represent lots and lots of charter schools. And if you fiddle with their forms, then you don't have the strength and numbers associated with the forms that they promulgated. So it's unlikely that the state, comes after 312 charter schools all at once, shutting us down because our policy is wrong. It would be more likely if we were sticking out. I think that the way this is written, it still provides a fair amount of discretion. I mean, this is, I think, a culture wars statute that's not necessarily aligned with what everybody would think, but this still provides the appropriate discretion, gives due process to parents, and allows the selection committee to do its work. So I think it's fine.
Other questions?
Now, do we have a motion?
Second.
Good job. First, motion to approve the policy on instructional and reading materials as written. And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now Patrice can find her committee.
Okay, no. And then I think there's one other, and Kevin, again, looking a little bit for your input. Because, and just maybe Philip may want to speak to this, and that is the idea of choosing MA or FA for that investing or debt service reserve. And for those of you who is still new, at least I am, municipal bond financing. This is the amount of money, which is about 1.2 million that we have to hold in what they call a special reserve fund to say to our trustee and all those who, purchase those bonds, that we're not running away and that we are going to be in good faith. And in case we aren't, they have a 1.2 million, to hold. We can invest that amount of money. We cannot make more than the interest on the bond for that money. And they have a unique way of bringing all that together. And Kevin and I were talking about it even in terms of, can you earn more? Well, maybe you can recover a little bit because we haven't been earning in the last 9 months. But overall, there are some companies that Kevin mentioned that we've kind of looked into. We've also had another company that we looked into that provided some good information. Didn't know if it was a valid vote to bring before you guys to say, perhaps maybe is there language that we use to give treasurer or the board, the executive director. I'm really looking, that was what that language was, is to really get your input in this.
Inclination, one, especially since we're dealing with large dollars here,
Right.
we don't want to go off do our own thing, whether things go bad or things go well.
Can you tell them how much money it could be in a year?
You're looking at what, like 70,000?
70,000. That's cheap.
But can we, but from what you said though, we can't recoup that.
So no, what they do with that
Pay
money,
it anyways.
Right, so we would be getting that, if we would, it's like a cut even,
We
right?
get it
Like,
all.
Yeah.
So we can't take money that we borrowed on a tax exempt basis and invest it in things that earn a higher yield. That would be taxable to anybody but us because we're a tax exempt organization.
Yeah.
Federal government won't let you use your tax exempt money that way. So our tax exempt arbitrage yield that we got tagged with is almost 6%. The things that we can invest in are like treasuries and cash equivalents. We're not going to get 6%. So despite all this talk about arbitrage, we're not going to have the happy problem of arbitrage. What we
Okay.
can do is take the money, it's almost, between our project fund and our debt service reserve fund, it's actually two different piles of money. We can take the project fund, which is the money we're using for all the construction.
Mhm.
A lot of it's been spent, but not all of it's been spent. We can invest that, and we actually don't have necessarily the same yield restrictions on that. But then the debt service reserve fund, which is almost 2 million between the two series, can be invested up to that yield restriction. Right now, it's sitting in a money market, so we're not making nothing on it.
Right.
We can just do better. So we got approached by a company whose information is in our
Yeah.
packet,
AMG.
who no doubt, scours the filings done by municipal bond issuers and looks for clients like us. I think they are local and they do this work, and the numbers you're going to get from anybody will be about the same. So I would be fine with us delegating to the treasurer, either working with them or looking around at there's a lot of people to do this,
Our
looking at some other
inclination,
options.
follow up with the two other names you provided to us, have meetings with them,
Mhm.
listen to it, and bring back to the board a name saying,
Or a-
we'd like to move
that makes
forward with this group to provide advisory counsel to us and to take action on what we provide with us. So
Yeah.
No, it's two different things. There is going to be an advisor who gets management authority to instruct the trustee who holds our money to invest it. This group, AMG, that contacted us very specifically does that for bond issuers. I also think that we would benefit from a general financial advisor who works in the tax exempt finance space, who can help us do the kinds of things that Building Hope once helped us do. This would be not only dealing with our existing debt, but looking at all kinds of financial structures. I work with these guys a lot, different companies that do this. I was on the phone today with one of these groups, it's one of the ones I mentioned to you, who is helping us decide whether to keep or sell a cell tower that's being leased by a city, right? So those are the kinds of decisions. They can do the modeling, they can help you with that. That group charges my city client $1,000 a month. In 10 years, our bond will be callable. We might be able to refund that bond and save millions of dollars. But if nobody's looking at it,
Yeah.
we're teachers and principals and board members. We don't know what to look for.
Right.
So somebody to be keeping an eye on those kinds of opportunities at $1,000 a month, and that retainer cover is talking about cell phone towers, right? So I think it's worthwhile for us to also engage someone who can do that, what we call FA, financial advisor, or MA, municipal advisor, where
it's what Richard was doing for us through the bond
Right.
issue,
Right.
but he was with Building Hope and isn't going to remain engaged
Right.
probably. And I talked to Patrice about that. So,
Yeah.
so I think we should do two different things. It could be the same company doing both, but it doesn't need to be. Look for a financial advisor and look for a person to invest our bond proceeds.
I like it. So yeah, that's where we're like, we don't keep any vote tonight on it, just more to make sure awareness on this is where we're going. We won't retain anyone, but move forward, then without bringing it back to the board to say, we're gonna go forward with this one. But didn't want to also make sure that just there's awareness. of it.
So and just want to the only thing I want to comment, just because of the market right now. Those, I'm looking at the two of you over there that are spending, and I guess you probably two, so. Like, is there a need to give the treasurer more authority to make a final decision to take advantage of the markets right now? Because I know that there's let me see if I get this right, an upside down yield curve right now. Is that the right word?
Inverted
AJ?
yield curve. Yeah.
What is it?
Inverted yield curve.
Inverted. I
Yes.
knew I was gonna get it wrong. Inverted yield curve. So I know that, short-term investments are.
One, I'd rather build a relationship with a investment advisor that we can then lean into working with. It may at that stage be that then we look at the board to give us a little bit more authority to on the advisement of our advisor to give them to go ahead to make quick decisions. I would much rather us miss out on $100,000 than to lose $300,000 because we think we're going to make it.
You may want to say that first.
That's the hard part with all of this.
Yeah, I get it.
Decided where you end up with, if we just stay the course, we will end up in a decent spot.
Right,
And you can see the proposal is to ladder these things and kind
right.
of
It's
diversify.
all about the ladder.
And these will be marginal distinctions, and I actually would be comfortable with respect to just choosing someone to pull our money from a money market and put it in treasuries. Delegating that to the treasurer to find a good price to do that.
Yeah, just to add what Kevin's saying, that the key is the planning. The money managers are a dime a dozen. We can go out and get anyone to run a muni bond portfolio. I mean, it's not, hundreds of them, but so the planning is where especially a niche such as this. If we could, certainly find someone that plays in this space, that would be worthwhile. And potential return on investment for that cost.
And we do not need a vote at this time.
No, because we're just gonna, I think
Explore it.
Philip and Patrice are just gonna go and, reach out to different companies to see what options we have, and then they'll bring back forth options for us to discuss.
And I can't work with Philip outside a board meeting, but I'd be happy to. It'd be good if I was the one to make a couple of those calls. So.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
Make some finance committee members join us and schedule as finance committee as well.
Oh, that's
We
good.
should do that.
Okay, so then, as far as the rest of my report, I gave you some boring information about the testing season. I don't think I need to go over any details. Does anybody have any questions about what we're going through right now, where, some of this is a little bit different than what we've had in the past, because writing right now will just be baseline. We're not really even expecting to get any, actually even numbers from the writing test. And then I went through what the PM3 progress monitoring will be for reading, as well as for math. Any questions in the EOCs?
We're not getting any back.
The pilot test. Yeah. For writing. Yeah. And still haven't had the word of whether or not the writing is going to be combined with ELA like it was in the past.
Right.
Like the PM3.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I don't get the impression it is.
What's even less
And
clear,
so Nicole was looking at me and said, no, she knows the sign, so.
so for our 10th graders this year, Christine at the high school,
Mhm.
that's the graduation requirement assessment. So it doesn't have the writing component this year because it's being piloted.
Yeah.
My question is, and we don't have an answer on this yet, is if for some reason the student doesn't pass the test the first time they take it, are they gonna then have to take the writing component, which is intended to be a part of that test or they kind of exempted from that indefinitely until they pass just the
Right,
multiple choice portion, so.
right. Well, I know we're still waiting on specs, so I would imagine that everybody is for all the testing. So,
Any other questions about the testing? Okay, so then just real quick for construction update. Yes, Polish Cross is gonna be finished. Right now, as we know, AJ, we had a B3 that wanted to go ahead and replace what Mac was doing. As Chad Latson with W&J engaged with B3, it became an untenable situation apparently, and B3 no longer wanted to participate. So we appreciate your intent.
we do appreciate it.
I know, believe me.
I don't know him past the
Chad
information.
was very emphatic today that he did not scare them away. And we were like, okay, I don't know why you needed to say that. But since we have such a bigger audience today, we have been in a stall right now with our Polish Cross, which is our another drive line, because we have had all sorts of problems with a pipe in the middle of that road that needed a lot of special permitting and special needs being addressed, as well as the fact that the county, wasn't even the city, the county turned around and said that we had to replace the entire pipe that's underneath that road. So it's been
Underneath there.
the other thing I do want to make you aware of right now is that also the county, and I don't know why we didn't say this when we went through the 3 or 4 month hold of the permit for this particular part of the project. But apparently they are no longer accepting bonds from construction companies, and they want a line of credit. So when this first came out, I became very nervous that they were going to ask us for the line of credit, because they either want a line of credit from a bank, which means, in my opinion, we have to go back to the trustee, because if we are going to incur any more indebtedness, it brings up the debt of bonds. So I've also reached out to our legal counsel about this, because where it stands right now is W&J is going to take on the line of credit. However, in order for them, and this is where it's confusing and why Melissa Arnold wants to wait until we actually got this language of the change order. Because if you're familiar with construction projects that we deal with, when there is a substantive increase in some part of the project, they have to make a change order. And so this change order now seems to be including this line of credit, which gave me pause. And so I reached out to Melissa about something else. I mentioned it to her and she said, hold on a minute. So she wants to look at that language for that change order. That was last Thursday and we're still waiting for it. Any questions about that?
We're still waiting on sod. That should be coming.
Yeah, but that's
soon.
supposed to be coming next week.
Yeah.
I did
For the
update,
soccer
yes,
field.
the sod
Irrigation
should
is
be
in.
coming. Sod really should be coming.
We've got some shrubbery. Yeah,
We
we've
have
got shrubs, we have fence.
We do have shrubs, we do have fence, so, and we're getting irrigation.
Probably have to do some regrading after all this rain,
Right.
but we welcome the rain.
Kevin, you were looking at me about the line of credit.
We'll talk about that later.
I know.
Mhm.
I'd be glad to, that's what she was. It just made her raise her eyebrow, even though I was talking to her on the phone. I could tell.
I think
she
it might
was
be a
just-
letter of credit, and I think as a substitute for a maintenance bond, right?
So that's right. They are no longer, the county apparently for construction companies is no longer asking for bond, or refuses to allow them to issue bonds. So they're only doing line of credit for cash.
There's different things that might be, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear. Okay, anything else about the construction update? Okay, so I did update you about summer plans. I updated you a little bit about the executive director search. We had a wonderful visit with Heather Clay yesterday. I know you guys also had some time with her. We will have Steve Griffin here on Friday, so we look forward to that. I'm going to hire, if my ambassadors for high school are out there, I'm gonna hire you as a hiring committee, because they need to be on hiring committee. They had some great opportunities to interact with her and really had some really great questions.
Yeah,
I
she
said,
was
"Ooh."
super impressed by them.
Yeah, I can understand. And then the only other thing that I have to share, which I know is what everybody else wants to hear right here, is so I've been looking at all sorts of iterations of our numbers for the lottery for this year, for next year, for the year after. I had a great conversation with Philip today about it. And what we talked about, which is what we often do, I felt like parents offered some good perspective on Friday about looking at our upper L numbers to see, can we hold those down a little bit so that we can, reduce this, how many we think we might lose, at the lottery. So I felt pretty good that I was, seeing real pretty significant, drop in terms of if we have normal, if we have a normal attrition of about 12% or 8 to 9%, then maybe we would only need an additional 13% more, but I'm not sharing any of those numbers because none of this is fixed. But I do want the community to know and the board to know that we are doing everything we can to try to honor what I feel like our community is really saying they need. While we really do believe that this is really going to be the best path forward to combine these two programs, being able to figure out a way to make sure that as many students come in, and I know what Philip asked me today, is also let's really make this a part of the finance committee as we really even look into even a broader picture of, are there ways of looking at our finances that's even a little bit different? And so we want to be able to do that. Just, I don't know if you want to say something about that. Yeah. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, reached out to Patrice today, they obviously, received lots of letters, care. I want to start by saying, honestly, I'm like totally just honored and humbled that a community this multiple of us, and so the administration of the board have been so involved in building through the last decade plus, has so many people that are passionately heartbroken at the thought of maybe not getting to stay in it years in the future. And that's a really exciting place to be as an organization, that people really are, like I said, heartbroken about maybe not getting to stay. And what I was connected with was Patrice and I talk numbers. That's what our roles are. Like, I saw something recently about how long I've been here, and I was like, what? I still think and we've seen many iterations through building, figuring out this building, figuring out the original one, figuring out all the other stuff we've looked at of matriculation and growth schedules and what's this look like, and they all, how many of we sketched and trashed?
Can't even imagine.
And they solved this problem and they created that problem, they solved that problem and they created this problem. And with all of that, though, it was like, we need time to lean into these numbers. Last month, we've had little hints. There's still, where's the conflict of what have you guys heard? What have you not? Well, we've had passing hints. We think we might need to merge these programs, but we'll talk about it later. If we get this passed, we might need to merge them, but we'll talk about it later. Those 2 sentences. So of course, it doesn't show up in the board meeting minutes because it was 2 sentences in passing. And so then we see it, we're like, yeah, let's move forward with figuring out this plan. But hey, can we have all the details? Well, no, because we're moving forward with figuring out the plan. We don't have the plan figured out. So that's what I told Patrice. I was like, I want to lean into this with you, but we need a crunch budget. We need to look at what these schedules look like. None of us want a 30% headcount cut in any one grade.
And I don't think after looking at the numbers, I feel very confident we can get away, definitely get this. Right. So I don't want to make.
I'm thinking, I'm like, no, gotta wiggle this, make this a little bit bigger, and this one a little bit smaller. How does this fit in class size? But that's the side of where one is. It might be interesting to watch, but I can guarantee you most people would lose interest at about the 3rd or 4th hour in. Okay, we wouldn't make it that far. It's not nearly as exciting as a football game. Although I had kind of fun in itself. But with all of it, we need the time and the trust, right? We've made decisions that got the organization where it is, and we've been through some very challenging decisions. And we need time to crunch the numbers and figure out where they are, and whether that's a tweak on the financials, have a little bit less revenue, a little less students, or an adjustment on where the class sizes fit, or when do we start letting that fall off? And there's all, you have big parameters, and then you have all these little things about, okay, you pick this, but now how do you put them into classrooms, and where does that sit? And that's why we've seen so many iterations. So that's what Patrice and I talked about today, and that was the side of where, like, when, trying to make sure that we say it somewhere. So
Well, I love when you call it trust and time.
Trust and time. We need the trust that the people who built the organization, that so many of you are so passionately wanting to stay in, have made the decisions that got us here. And we ask for your trust that we'll make the same decisions that will keep the organization, an organization we want to be part of, and time to figure out the details. So it gets hard, and quite frankly, the laws that do want to make it so that way it's open and honest, and you see everything the board does, make it harder for us to operate in open and candid ways, because we can't talk about it, and you have to be cautious. When emotions hit, can't go talking to a whole bunch of people, and I don't know who they're gonna blast that off to. And did you know a board member said this? They're like, they're gonna go quiet. I don't care, because you have to be quiet and stay it as the board for the decision, you know. So that's what we touched on. I was like, trust and
And I do want to welcome the finance committee. Again, they may be a little boring, but you know, this is one of the things that we will start looking at. We have these spreadsheets that we've had for years where, you know, I could see some people in here that may even remember some of these spreadsheets where we look at the numbers, and we are looking at, you know, someone mentioned on Friday, they mentioned the toddler program. That's going to take us a while to gather, you know, all the information on that, but we're already working on the toddler program. We're working on how do we reduce the numbers that may be those 4th and 5th graders and not make upper L too lopsided, you know, until I go to Kathy and say, tell me what those numbers would look like, you know, because don't any of us who really know those levels, you don't want any one grade being too lopsided, while at the same time having it be a little top heavy in 4th grade, or 5th and 6th grade not to be as heavy, and then just not, you know, filling those positions when you do have kids that naturally lead, you know, makes sense as well. So I invite people to come to the finance meeting, and you know, we're going to start digging into some of this. And I will tell you that oftentimes at the finance meeting, what happens is then they give us, you know, they say, okay, why don't you work at this? Why don't you try this or try this? And this is when I go back in and I work on all my different iterations, and I pull in administration, and we just pull out ideas. So again, if people have ideas or where they feel like we can, you know, add or loop, we do know there's a couple of things that I do know, and I will share this right now. Is one of the things that we do know is what has been shared is that the lottery is fixed around what the law tells us to do. We're still trying to, our legal team is giving us information about holding a lottery that's 2 years out. They've already called out to me. They think that that's really problematic. But you know, we're looking at it as a legal, because we do have to honor, you know, the organization. We don't need to have lawsuits coming out of the woodwork because we've done something that's illegal. So this is something that's never been done before. So anything that we would do in that regard is going to be, you know, have to be very carefully decided. I do know that, just for everybody to know, that we can't have 1st graders up on the 2nd story, you know, because that's something, you know, that some people have asked about as well. And there was something else I think that you heard that I did want to say tonight that we can't do.
Just, I think that we're very limited in what can be included in the lottery.
I think we need to restate what the
Say
lottery,
that again?
if we could restate what the lottery
So right
protocols
now,
are
right, so
legally.
by the
Yeah.
state law, BPK students only get a bump for kindergarten, because that was also somebody said. Somebody said, can we get, if we got a BPK bump in kindergarten, can that bump? And we went back to legal. We were pretty sure, but we went back to legal, and they said, no, that is only a BPK bump for kindergarten. We do know that we do have the special, which our legal team is pretty proud of us because they don't know how we got that in, but we do have the Montessori bump, that they were impressed that we had that.
So we're not pulling from outside the school.
And-
All of the students
Right.
would be coming from the school
Right.
as.
And that's a yes
first-
or no, right? So
Yes.
the,
Yeah.
the first bump is if you're already here, you can't be displaced by an outside
Right.
kid,
Mhm.
period. That's
Yeah.
by statute. We couldn't change that if we wanted to. But the Montessori deal, it's a yes or no. You either have Montessori experience or you don't.
Right.
So people who have expressed concerns, I've only been here a year, this guy's been here 7 years, that doesn't mean anything.
No.
And being at a Montessori outside the school for 7 years and never having been here, you're gonna be behind every student
Yeah.
that's already here.
Right.
So those are, I think, important to understand.
Yes, that's good. And then, and with that, and then it's the sibling one that they get.
I'm gonna make, always put that asterisk on it. The point of the number crunching is to try to make it so there is no lottery needed.
Right.
But there's these big parameters and there's little ones like no first graders on the second floor. Okay, well, and there's a whole slew of those little things that I don't know off the top of my head, but I know when we get into crunching the numbers, it ends up going, oh yeah, there's this. So
There's class size that we have to stay within the parameters for the state for K3, as well as 4th through 8th grade, and then 9th through 12th grade has a different class size, and that's averaged across all the grade levels. So yes, there's a lot of those little unique things too that we have to pay attention to.
So those are, I guess the sort of it, right, is the one, we've got some lottery details, let's stay tuned for more details, as we got them figured out, but that's the aspect of, and that's why we're having this conversation now versus say in a year, is because we are planning 14, 15 months out.
Yeah.
And some of these decisions actually hit the ground.
Right.
And we do have to have a minimum FTE to keep afloat. I think that is another, it's like, well, we could just hold all of this growth option, but we can't.
And that's the number, yeah.
Because we need the financial
Right.
numbers
Where
to
the
come
two-
in to
It's
to
like
place that,
somebody
to pay
said,
teacher
right,
salaries.
it's like somebody said, it's not like we have any fluff.
Yeah.
And so, but that's still something that we want to go back to the table and look at, are there areas that,
Absolutely.
we can tweak, can we save on telephone, can we save, what can we save on, because we really don't have very much out there that we're, salary obviously is the, biggest percentage of our, budget.
And they mentioned like the fundraising committee, but I think as the financial committee, but I think as a board, we're open to ideas to welcome the community to join committees on fundraising or ad hocs if needed, right? Like, so you do not need to be a board member or to join a committee, which is, I think, really beneficial. I love the comment from Christine. I think maybe I forget who followed up with her. I apologize right afterwards, right? Like there's a need for fundraising. Absolutely. And that is, I will be the first to say that is something that has fallen off of my plate with the last couple of years because the building process is very in-depth and takes a lot of time, right? And we spend hours every week in meetings with construction. Well, first we were planning a school and then that school was going to cost us about 12 million when we had budgeted for 6, really could push to 8. So that was not an option because that would have put us not afloat. So we found a lovely school. We have been making it work. But we still have these construction and bond processes that we're still kind of tied to and have to manage and monitor and be a part of. So I don't know if there's a board member who feels like they have a strength to kind of like be a person on a fundraising committee to be there and not necessarily have to lead it, but just be a part of it. I think that would be beneficial for our school and then to have community members from parents to come in and create that. Because I think that we'll take the funds. We'll find ways to, if it's strip malls, strip malls. So.
Back to comment in here, we do the event fundraising planning.
Yes,
committee that is more
yes.
Gala centric, but
We're looking
also
for members
others.
for that as well.
Good. Q1 is always crazy working in corporate accounting. But as I'm coming out of that, we're actually making good progress on getting our initial draft of what our core event would be at a year, which will then move us to second phase of it, which would be looking for a lot more people, mid-sized number of people on the ground to plan an event, secure location, figure out the caterers, figure out the activities and all of it. Third phase would actually be putting the event on and putting all that stuff together. So, yeah, just since you're talking
Yeah.
it up, I'm like, hey, people are thinking.
Yeah,
about
throw it out there. I mean, reach out to us if you're interested.
Very close.
I mean, I guess I'll sit at a committee meeting. I won't have the bandwidth to lead that fundraiser committee, and I probably don't have the knowledge to do it. So, it's just not my wheelhouse, but if somebody does have it, then, you know, I'll come and sit at a meeting and let you lead it. So, feel free to reach out.
See that separate from the event? hall?
Yes.
Or you think
I
it's
think
Separate.
I think this
Yeah,
should be,
we need an additional fundraising committee, and we've had it in the past, but it's just, it needs to be rebranded and rebirthed.
yeah, it could do focus on a lot more, whether it's smaller individual events, one-off events, campaigns that raise
Plant
dollars. for
giving,
specific
community
focus,
donations, absolutely.
boardwalk,
Yeah.
whatever the activity
Yeah.
is focused.
We've got the drawings for that. It's gonna happen. So I think that is something for those who are looking for something to do, to please reach out if that's something where you want to spend some time and you have a strength in it, right? Like if that's in your wheelhouse, then we definitely need that, that process to be ramped up a little bit for sure. And we have time, which is good. So you're mentioning we need time, but we have time too. And that's, I think, the other part of it. And that's why we really did want to take the time to look at what this is. And if I read the motion, I'm going to read it. You know, it was to direct the staff to adjust enrollment numbers and hiring decisions in preparation of moving the middle school students to IMH campus in a 24-25 school year, and begin to look at that change management process, right? So we're just moving the dial to look at what's happening, and the lottery is probably going to be a part of that. But how can we minimize that as much as possible, or structure it so we don't need it? You know, that would be the best thing. But, and I don't know, things could happen in the time period between now and then to do that. We are worst case scenario planners, and that's how we have to do this job. And we can't, you know, a lot of us are parents up here, but you have to take that hat off, and that's hard. You talk about the emotional part of it, right? Like that the kids would not be here and this kid doesn't get in. If I one kid versus two kids, you know, Marissa has one, I have two. So why do I get the advantage and she doesn't, right? Like, how is that fair? So, you know, I think that's something that we wholeheartedly feel and process. And maybe I like the comment on the stages of grief, right? Like maybe we're a little bit farther into it because we have been, you know, this has been like an idea, concept that has been in our head since December. Like, yeah, we will have that consolidation. That might be something we need to think about, you know, as part of the process. And then it's here. Oh, we got the consolidation. All right, so let's look at that. Let's move forward. So I think that we have good opportunities, and I love the families that came out today, and you know, the families here with us virtually. And you know, if we can give this opportunity to every student in Orange County, we would be a blessed school. But we have limited resources, so we're gonna do the best we can and continue to spread as much kindness and curiosity throughout the world as possible. So I think that is definitely always our focus.
I will volunteer to look at the fundraising committee.
Good job. It's official. I love it.
I do want to make a comment that I think that we do need to be clear coming out of this. I do see a comment from Sarah about posting available committees. What are the goals? I think we have energy.
Yeah.
And we need to capitalize on that energy, and we need to provide an opportunity for hearing finance for those numbers folks as an option.
Yeah.
Also hearing this additional fundraising committee. And I think, again, whenever there's energy, we have a choice as to how we manifest our energy and where we put it and what we do with it. And I would like to invite us to take an advantage with Marissa there, stepping up. Thank you.
Yes.
To collect ideas, you know, collect some of this information so that we can adequately, you know, and I think it kind of works well if it works in two spaces. You have the numbers, y'all are looking at the numbers and the spreadsheets and all of that. We have the fundraising, you know, side of things going as well. Again, it all still comes back to, you know, we got to figure out numbers. We got to figure out money side of things. I mean, those are key, right? And because that all has a direct impact on our students. And that is the bottom line, is this impact to our students. And I know we're all thinking about that wholeheartedly. So I think if we can mobilize you know, how we want to approach that and have, you know, an end date in mind. I know everybody's probably like, okay, so what does that mean next? And what does that mean next? You know, with clear communication up, say the meeting's going to be here, please come. We facilitate it. We have, you know, discussion, we capture notes as we do with all of our meetings. And make that available so that people can, you know, participate, be heard, and we can capture and say, this is all the stuff, right? These are all of the considerations that we've made. And here's where we're starting to move to, right? We're focusing here. And here's what we've done to mitigate, you know, risks here and mitigate the concerns here and really have that documented and captured so that there can be clarity, because I'm hearing a lot of confusion and a lot of clarity, and we own that, right? Like I want to own that, you know, I feel like we need to step it up in terms of how much we're being transparent and clear and also creating spaces that are appropriate for involvement with parameters and with guidance, because it can't be an infinite discussion. I know we're going a long time tonight, but we anticipated that. But you know, we do have to also move towards decisions at a certain point as well. So, yeah.
And I think that's, you know, the finance committee is already on the calendar and those are set and you know, like I had options to have those join. So that's posted already. Have Marissa look at her calendar and timeframes that maybe she could host a Zoom. I would say probably more beneficial, right, for everybody. Fundraising session and, you know, maybe put an agenda of some things that you want to accomplish on that. We don't need to identify any positions within those committees per se, right? Then you just report back to the board at the next board meeting on what was discussed, on ideas, on things that they're looking at. And so we can kind of use that as a getting start point.
And I do want to quickly bring up, because I've had some questions about minutes. And we do take minutes at all of our committee meetings. We also take minutes at any of our working sessions or anything that is not a monthly typical board meeting.
Yeah.
We utilize board docs to post the main meetings that are each month. I have not yet utilized board docs to post anything further, but that's been the effort, is put on board docs what we have each meeting each month as this official monthly meeting. And we have our video recording. So those minutes are available and they have also been requested. So I could go through a process of placing those on the board docs, or I could keep them and we could make them available in some other form or fashion. So I'm just aware that there's been requests for those. So
is there an option to just create subfolders for the committees that we have on there?
because it's all on the, you know,
Right,
the
like,
drive
we have
and
it,
we've got those.
Right,
So I'm
hold
just
them in
wondering
the
our
board
level
docs
of
versus-
transparency that we want, or what we
Yeah,
want to do with
to
those.
increase it, right? Like just let's put them on board docs in subfolders, right? Like we have our main monthly meetings. So is there a way for us on, I can look at board docs.
I mean,
too.
what I can do is I mean, I can create like a sub, you know, just another section where it's not calling out every single month, but you know, look here for committee meetings, meeting dates.
Yeah, that would be
And
good.
if people want to go in there, they can go there. So I just need to create a space for that and do that. And now we do have a request to.
Yeah, I
see
don't know
some
if
of
I
that.
see featured, I see meetings, I see the agenda piece, and I see where in the meetings you have, you know, it goes by dates, right? Like, so,
Correct, but there would be a way I could probably just put a section and then have, you know, all.
committee meetings in one subsection.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can even put them in there as like PDF attachments or
Oh,
something
yes,
like
that
that.
would be easier.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Is everybody okay with that process and approach?
Yes.
Any concerns?
Assuming the board docs is on the IMO website, so I just go to my saved link, but is that accessible?
It
through-
is,
Yeah.
it is, yes, the board docs link, I see someone's posted it there in the chat, thank you, so board
I have
docs.
My bookmark, so.
Yep, so just for everyone's benefit, board docs is our official place where we place all of the minutes and we will now add into that additional minutes from other related meetings, so.
Well, while we are on this kind of discussion point too, I hate to jump around, but we did miss one vote. So I had sent out the annual schedule this last week sometime to just approve. We do have 2 school advisory meetings on that council. So I think that gives us an opportunity to, for those sessions, to make sure that we have the PTO representatives there from the parent group, right? Like, I think that is one of the things we wanted there. And then obviously the teacher groups as well at those meetings. So that would be the July 11th meeting and the October 10th meeting. Looking at that schedule, and then our annual meetings will take place in June. We're technically only required to have 2 meetings a year. So, but we obviously host a lot more. So we have those on there, and I think it's a good idea for us to just have that focus on there. Was there any changes before we make a motion to approve the agenda as set, the schedule for meetings? Any things we should update or change on that?
So we probably just need to be clear that we are talking about the SAC.
The board of directors tentative schedule. So that would include the SAC meetings.
Right.
And that would include the annual recap meeting. And then it also has the focus for each of the monthly meetings as well. And then we chose July and October because that would give us time for the school improvement data to come in from the state, the test scores, the numbers that need to be crunched to then write the school improvement plan. And then we can kind of address it and make sure that things are put into place in October once that school improvement plan is being approved. That's correct, right?
Yes. Usually they want to have it like loaded up like sometime in September.
Yeah. So that gives us those 2 opportunities there.
So as part of this, do we need to clarify for the public what SAC is
Oh, School Advisory Council.
and what it entails and what type of committee this is?
Supervisory Council has always been about, like, the focus generally has always been in the past around the focus on the school improvement plan. What's been kind of awkward is around like what's the requirement for charter schools. So recently our law firm has reached out to us because we also just went through accreditation, and I reached out to them as well about, okay, at what point in time do we get the school advisory council involved? He suggested what I sent about getting the board involved. So using the board as that, and then adding, that would be just 2 meetings a year where you just is focused on that. And then because so much of it is what's done at the school level with the teachers and the principals, who also still get other input as well.
It's not required for us to have those representations of the different communities there, but I think it's valid for us to pull those in, right? Like, we want to have representatives from PTO to represent the parent community. We want to have representatives from the teachers at those meetings to represent the staff that at each different level. We also we'd love to have students at the different levels to represent, and I know that I think we talked about this with Jared, right? Like, who are the representatives for student government? That ideally should be who those representatives are that are coming to represent the school at the SAC meetings. So I don't know that you have that set up yet. And so maybe that's something as you're looking and we're planning for the future. Who are your representatives for your school who are coming to then represent the students at the SAC meeting? But we want to have each of those groups there to have that discussion on the school improvement plan. It is very focused on the school improvement plan. That's the purpose. So it's not necessarily looking at things outside, but the school improvement plan can have a lot of different areas that are where are we spending our money and how is that moving the school forward, right? Like, that's the focus of it. So
where are we with like understanding the parameters of who we want to include in the SAC? We're still talking through that.
yeah, I think that we want to have student representatives, and I just want to leave that up to maybe like the principals in each of the schools. PTO representatives, again, that would be up to the PTO on who they want to send, and if they wanted to rotate it, that's fine. I feel like that's a PTO decision. That's not a board decision on who they want to support. That needs to be submitted by PTO, and we can work on Sarah to decide how they want to rotate that or share that workload. Some of these meetings are in July, and Actually, that one might need to be changed. I'm out of the country that one. So I say that one and then, so some of them maybe we might need to tweak them a little bit, but to find somebody who's available for those, and that might rotate, right? And it's good to have those voices rotated too. But I would like the choice to lie with the group, right? Like that doesn't need to be the board's decision on who's there. We want representatives from each of those communities, but those communities need to decide who they bring. Does that make sense? That makes sense.
Good question. Yep.
I just say all of our meetings are public meetings. and-
Right, and anybody's always welcome.
Yeah, and I
Exactly.
wouldn't put too much stock in the
Yeah,
SAC. I mean, it has a very limited statutory
Mhm.
purpose, and these school improvement plans are a very specific thing.
yeah,
If you want to come talk about lotteries, come to the board meetings. If you want to come talk about paint colors, come to the board meetings. You don't need an SAC for that, and that
Yeah.
I just think students are welcome. I never see students at board meetings. That'd be awesome if they were here.
Yeah.
So,
appreciated Elliot joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that was awesome.
All right, well.
Okay, so my only question just with the schedule, I mean, it's good to have a schedule.
Mhm.
But do we want to lock in on those particular months at this time for all of those dates? Like, is there any? At this point, do we just want to put them at there as proposed? And then I guess if we need to change the topic,
Yeah,
are we
it just-
locked in or,
We are definitely, and right, like
Yeah.
we have the flexibility to move, but I think that we need to be locked into that month. We are holding that topic, if the
Okay.
date changes, that's fine, if we can't meet the 11th and we're meeting the 3rd
Right.
or the 25th
But
of July. because
generally in that
holidays and
month,
vacations.
we
then-
would cover the following
Right,
topic, which is
yes,
what you had
but I
proposed,
think
yeah.
that the idea of what's focused for that month, we do need to hold because that's gonna give us our structure. That's gonna give us our accountability. And plus that, like, oh, okay, here we're doing a lower L deep dive in November. I might wanna go to that meeting as a parent or as a community member. That might be something, I know that that's the focus of that meeting. That might be something I
Yeah,
wanna
and that
listen to.
supports what we're trying to do with being more
Right.
transparent
Yes,
about,
exactly,
what's
exactly.
happening in our meetings and what are the topics, and if you want to be here and plan to participate, then you know what's going on
Yep.
and what the purpose and intent is, so.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I think that we are making a motion to approve the monthly focus and the meetings of the required annual meetings as a board. The dates are contingent upon availability and timing.
Okay, are you motioning that? Stacy?
I just motioned it,
Okay.
yeah. Let's check that box. Marissa, just second. All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And just to, like for the board meetings, you have this to only public option to communicate, but in the committees, you have the ability to communicate with the committees there. So that's the nice part about the committees too, just like that mentioned.
Would that also be true for like a staff portion?
It would be true for the SAC portion. That would be a big dialogue portion for those representatives. Exactly. Yeah. That's a good point, Jared. Let's hit the agenda real quick because there's something else. Oh, thank you.
I think we got all the votes.
I did, Patrice had mentioned it, but I did just want to go ahead and just touch base as a hiring committee update, because she touched a bit, we had Heather here. I just wanted to kind of go through the process as we have worked with Ray and Associates, which it's been super pleasant.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like
Yes.
to think that all these years later,
I know.
the people who found you are gonna find your replacement. It's just
That's
like,
right, it is.
it's just ironic, but full circle. But they have, I mean, like gathering all of the candidates for the process, doing the screening, collecting the resumes for us, doing the small videos. I think we started with
34, 35, something.
Yeah.
48.
yeah, candidates from all over the United States. And then we narrowed the list down to like a top 10. And then from there, we held video conferences where we were asking them specific questions. And then from those videos conferences, we narrowed it down again to
3.
Yes.
Three.
Three. And then we did hold interviews with those three, same question format with all three candidates. And we now have narrowed it down, and I didn't even see if she was on here. To two, she was on her. I don't blame her. She needs to sleep. To two candidates who we brought in Heather Clay on Monday, and she got to do the tour with both the schools and speak with the kids. And then we have Steve coming in on Friday to do the same thing. And I think that we have two amazing candidates, and I'm feeling really, really positive about the opportunities of growth in skill set that both these candidates bring to the table. So after we complete those final interviews this week, we should be able next week to move forward and have information on who will be our next executive director for IMO and IMHS. So it's exciting times. Is there any questions on any of that from the board and that process and what that looks like as we wrap up?
So we would have a hiring committee?
We will have to schedule a hiring committee for next week. Yeah. That was definitely on.
Schedule a meeting?
Yeah, we can do it in Zoom. So, you guys have seen me too much lately. It's painful enough.
Is it a possibility, since I didn't make the dinner on Monday, to meet with, is that outside of protocol or just a candidate for Monday?
I think that it would be fine if you wanted to
Just
call.
have a phone call?
So then you have a phone call with Heather. You didn't get to meet her.
You want me to set up a phone call?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I'll be there Friday. I couldn't make it on Monday night.
Yeah, I think that she would definitely be open to
I
that.
will email it right now.
Thank you.
Do you want a Zoom or a phone call?
Zoom's fine.
Let's look at the calendar then for next week, and we'll go ahead and get that scheduled. So Tuesday evening or Monday evening? What do
I
we?
definitely can't do Monday evenings.
Okay, so a no on Monday for Kristen. Tuesday evening?
I would just need to know when, because I'm in a different time zone, but
I'm booked on Tuesday, but
I won't be there Tuesday.
You will not. You said no to Monday, Kristen.
I can't do Monday. No.
And then I am actually out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for conference. Is there in the morning? We do a Tuesday morning. I mean, I'm game for 7 a.m. too. Like
I'll be in a Pacific time zone, but I can wake up early.
It'll be like noon, right?
No, it would be very early.
No, it would be very early.
7.
I could do like Monday afternoon. What would be afternoon my time?
Oh, change weeks.
Huh? So like a 2 o'clock or a 3 o'clock here? Or
I don't know.
do
we
that
might-
conversion real quick.
I know. Sorry, I'm gonna be the problem here with that one, but.
What is your 5 hours, right? Is that 5 hours where you are?
Three.
Is it-
Yeah, 3 hours difference.
You're in California.
Yeah.
What is the difference? 3 hours, okay.
Yeah.
You,
Close to go.
yeah. You're Pacific.
No, but-
Yeah, okay.
9 a.m. time.
3 hours.
On Monday?
I'll be
There's
I'll
the
be
kids that are
flying in
still
the
on right now
morning.
are like,
I'll
oh
be-
my gosh, these board members
That's why
cannot tell.
Monday's
time.
gonna be wonky because I'm
We need-
flying on Monday, so
Yeah.
That day.
Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
I think Tuesday might be easier.
Yeah, I can do mornings.
Yeah, just tell me what time Tuesday, and I can make it.
Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
I am good anytime before 9. So 8 a.m. So we need to go earlier.
Oh, okay.
No, at all.
It's
Okay.
okay.
Okay. 8 a.m. works for you. Let-
5 a.m.
Is that 5 a.m.
That's
for you?
5 a.m.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
I think it's
Sorry
5
for your
a.m.
problem on this one.
So we all get to see.
Tuesday.
What about lunch on?
I could do a 1 o'clock on Tuesday.
That's
Could you do
feeling a
1
little bit
o'clock?
better.
I know I have to be at the airport.
I mean, I could do it 1:30 too.
No, this meeting is for ours.
1:30 on Tuesday, would that be better?
Yes, I can make that work.
Okay, all right, let's set that for
1:30 Eastern time?
Eastern time.
All right, got it.
Yeah, that's what I say, EST.
What time should we leave?
1:30. 1:30 on Tuesday. Hold.
McCord.
Or. Okay.
Be entertained.
All right, let's see if Brett can make that too. Okay, so that will.
Stacy, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was
No,
gonna
no.
change topics.
Yeah, go for it.
So do we need to do finance update or PTO update? It's
I'm sure
9:33.
Sarah's on there, like, ready to shoot us right now.
And I know you went to committee updates, so we did
Yeah.
the hiring committee update.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have a finance committee update?
Is Jose still with us? He actually has some notes for a short finance committee update. Jose, are you there?
hey,
Okay, good.
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh my God, boy, this is really.
Good job, Jose.
Making me do this update late.
Unless you guys want to get off.
No, go
No,
for
no.
it. We're here for you.
Alrighty. Let me just pull out my notes. It's feels good to be giving my first update. Let's go here. Yeah, so overall, we ended up the month fairly well. Some key takeaways. We had some taxes come in for the high school. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. We had some unbudgeted taxes coming for the high school. So we'll be seeing that hit this month. Then some repair and maintenance costs. We spent a little bit more than we predicted. And then from a cash flows perspective, just like what we've been saying for the past few months, we're still monitoring our closely what we're spending and then our grant reimbursements. So overall, we're doing well as a school. Nothing out of the ordinary from what we can see. I don't know if Philip wants to add anything else to that, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think the main thing, mainly due to the size of the audience and this one who may not have been in on all our other meetings, our cash flow challenges this year are directly in connection with our grant reimbursement spend. We have to spend the money so we can get it back, but then we have to wait for them to give it back, and we're gonna get it sometime in 30 to 90 days, and we don't quite know when that is, right?
Yeah.
And it's very unpredictable, so it ends up being this real challenge, and you're trying to spend as much as you have cash on hand, but you don't know when you're gonna get it back, but as soon as you get it back, you wanna go spend it again, because there's this limited time frame. Several years sounds like a really long time frame when you listen to the news reports, when you're trying to work your way through hundreds of thousands of dollars of spend and get it reimbursed, it creates headaches. So I've made sure to keep the board aware of this, just because sometimes, you don't want any dancing to have slip ups and things suddenly get out of our control, but so mainly it adds stress to Dave, but he does a good job managing it, and we keep in touch with where things sit. So thank you, Dave. I don't know if you've fallen asleep or you're staying. I see you're still. Thank you, Jose.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. Sarah, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, guys.
Hello.
All right, so just quickly before I start our update, I just wanted to take a moment and say how proud and honored I am to represent such a dedicated, passionate, and solutions-based community. I would like to thank each and every one of you for showing up for our students, our teachers, and our staff, and our community as a whole. As you know, we at the PTO work tirelessly to build our community, and we have successfully brought back so many of our IMO traditions lost since COVID. So with that being said, I would like to formally lend our support to help achieve our fundraising goals and would love the opportunity to partner with you all as we explore solutions. So we're here, we're ready. So just use us. We've been able to make a lot happen this year. So we have a lot of energy. So I'm really excited to be a part of the team. Okay, on to all the PTO stuff. Earth Day, that's coming up on April 22nd. That is going to be our family collaboration with our book fair night. So the bake-off portion, we have 4 different categories: best cookie, best cake, best other dessert, and best gluten-free, casein-free dessert. So that would work for anybody with allergies. Casein is going to be dairy, so any sort of dairy dietary restrictions. There's entry gifts for every single contestant. So we have 7 in each category, and then there'll be prizes for the winner. Also, that's going to be our book fair again. So Ariel's working tirelessly with our library, but also surprise the book fair starting. Amber will be there with our plant sales and seed sales, and One Blood is coming. So there also is a blood drive. That starts a little bit earlier. They're going to come at 12. So they'll be there from 12 to 4. There was a link that was put out on the Parent Square, which is the donor. So in order to get One Blood out, they have a minimum of 10 units of blood. That's their goal. So that's just, 10 people willing to donate. So it's a great way to give back. That there's a lot of cool information on that, but they've sent us a lot of flyers. So look for those on campus. And if you can, sign up to be a blood donor in advance. Also at that night, we'll have free, like always, yard games, board games type stuff, face painting, and music. Our next PTO meeting is going to be on Zoom on April 25th at 8 p.m. So another late night one. And we're getting excited for our Teacher Appreciation Week, which is May 1st through May 5th. Our theme this year is You Lift Us Up, with a hot air balloon theme. We're going to have a lot of symmetry between both campuses, between main campus and high school, even though on the high school, we are going to kind of gear it towards a little older themed. And then our last really exciting update is on the last day of school, May 26th, we're going to have an end of year pool party at Island H2O. So everyone is welcome. They're giving us a really good discounted rate on tickets. We also were able to get 1 free chaperone ticket for every 16 tickets purchased. So if you or people are in the a family in need, please reach out to us, because for every 16th ticket purchased at this discounted rate, we get a free ticket that we could then give to anybody who would like to go that maybe that wasn't in their budget for this year. So we'll post that link up on our PTO Owls site. But that should be it from us.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we might have gotten through everything.
Through the agenda, just shy of 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Well, we do absolutely thank everybody for coming, both in person and in our community this evening. And more importantly, we thank you for your passion here and your love for your children and every student here. So I look forward to working with the board, admin, and future committees to do what we can do to, maximize retention for our students, right? That is absolutely my top goal. So I think that we have some good things coming, and we hopefully will clear out some of this construction stuff in the coming months and open up some doors there as well. But thank you guys for coming, and don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have interest in some of those committees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, adjourned.